How are we doing, everybody? Welcome to episode 26 of Punch the Air podcast. We got our first NFL podcast of the new season. I think this is more of our bread and butter versus NBA anyways. To your right, we got Aaron Powell. He's been on a few.
Glad to be back. Appreciate the invite.
Glad to have you, brother. Then we got Lil Bro here on the left. I think this is your second appearance.
Second appearance.
Sophomore campaign.
It's my pleasure. It's nice
Sophomore
to be
season.
Here with Big Bro and Big Bro friends.
Oh, yeah.
Feels good.
And then on the Zoom call, as always, we got the man, Big E, Ethan Davis.
Hello.
With the new TikTok light. Looking shiny.
Yes, sir. My new
as
selfie
ever.
stick. Watch out.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. But yeah, guys, so today, NFL pod. We're going to be going over the NFC North, giving our outlook on all four teams, record predictions, division breakdowns, all that good stuff. We have top 10 teams power ranking that Luke's going to provide us, and we're going to go over all that. I got an NFC quarterback tier we'll go over, some off-season winners and losers that we have, and then last but not least, bold predictions for the upcoming season, then also one fun question at the end. But, boys, let's hop into the NFC North. This division wasn't very good last year. Obviously, the Packers lost Aaron Rodgers. There's been a lot of turnover in this division, and it's honestly a pretty interesting division. Like, the Vikings won it last year. We're expecting some regression there. The Packers obviously have Jordan Love in. Can the Bears take the next step with Justin Fields going another year? New pieces, and the Lions, who now may be the favorites.
Definitely.
But let's start off with the Pack. How are we feeling about the Packers' outlook this year?
Well,
Okay.
I'll say this. I don't know if I'm a believer in Jordan Love quite just yet till I see how he's looking in preseason. Or if they're not playing him in preseason, that may give me a little more confidence in them because they feel good about it. So my faith is coming in with how Jordan Love is going to do, because I think they've been kind of getting lucky with having Rodgers there for quite a while, kind of keeping things together. So it's going to be a new voice in there this time around. So it's going to be interesting to see how they recover from that. And they're kind of in a bad spot because this division is just continually getting better, except I could argue maybe the Vikings are going to slide because I personally think Kirk Cousins is going to suck this year, but we're getting into that. But with that being said, teams are on the up and up in that division, and I don't feel like they're on the up and up. I feel like they're on the regression to a rebuild state because I don't think they know if they need to rebuild yet or not. They're trying to figure that out. So that's kind of a bad spot to be in.
Yeah, they're kind of in a weird place right now to where it's like, are they rebuilding or are they contending? Like, the roster is still good all around. I mean, the defense is stacked. The O-line's going to be healthy.
You hope it is.
You hope it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's looking healthy now. They didn't have Bakatari a lot of last year. But
Yeah. I mean, it all falls on Jordan Love. He has some decent weapons now. You know, they drafted 2 tight ends. He's got good running backs. I mean, he's got, power back and AJ, and then he's got Jones, who's, all around back.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, but like, it all falls on Jordan Love, and I think he's gonna shit the bed, if we're being honest.
Well, from what we've seen from Jordan Love to this point, he hasn't shown us anything that's just like spectacular, blow you out of the water, first round pick, quarterback type of deal. I personally think this season falls more on Coach LaFleur. It's
agree.
all up to him. You've had 3 years, I think 3 years with Love, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This will be year 3.
3 years of Rodgers carrying him.
3 years of Rodgers carrying him. He's had time to study under one of the goats of football, watch film with him, be in that QB room. And if you don't have your guy ready, I mean, that's on you, especially because looking at the Packers roster right now, the backup QB, Sean Clifford, maybe? It's like, it's
So
really going to have
bad.
to all
Should've
fall
got
on
Mike
Love
White.
because you don't have any other options there. It's not like they went out and signed a veteran as like a safety net for him. Like, they're putting all the chips in on Love. And just a fun fact about the Packers, this is going to be the first year since 1992 that Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers didn't start for the Packers.
Wow.
2 QBs in the last, what is that, 30 years?
Yeah, what
Something
is
like
that?
Yeah,
like,
Hall of Fame
is
QBs
that like,
nonetheless.
Exactly.
Week 1 starter? Because I know Rodgers has been out, like a year or 2. Is that
official week one
like
starter.
official week 1 starters. But
Yeah.
What do y'all have their record being this year?
So I said 6-11.
That's exactly what I have.
I mean, like you said, it really just all depends on Jordan Love. And he only started 1 game 2 years ago against the Chiefs. We haven't really seen him play. He didn't even play that much at Utah State. He wasn't even that good at Utah State. So
no.
it's like there's a few unknowns in the league this year. He is probably the biggest question mark unknown
Yeah.
of like, okay, let's see what you can do. But
Of
yeah,
the non-rookies, yeah.
of the
Yeah.
non-rookie. Parlaying off what you said though with LaFleur, I think this is just as big of a year for LaFleur as it is for Jordan Love.
This is
And
where you see how good a coach you are right here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, he's inherited Rodgers since he's been in Green Bay. They've had great regular season success, not any postseason success.
Yeah.
But so listen to this. So Matt LaFleur and coaches that have coached at least 50 games, he has a 47-19 record as a coach that gives him a 71.2 win percentage. That would be of coaches that have coached 50-plus games, fourth best in NFL history, behind Guy Chamberlain, John Madden, Vince Lombardi. So, I mean, his regular season success with Rodgers has been impeccable. Haven't seen that postseason success, but like you said, I think Jordan or LaFleur is contingent on Jordan Love's success. If Jordan Love just looks unprepared, the offense is stalling, they're not doing anything or seeing any progression. Next offseason, we could be going in. Obviously, Jordan Love would be out, and then obviously after that, the question is LaFleur the guy? And I feel like a lot of people have wanted to put LaFleur not in the McVay tier, but like right below that.
Yeah,
if he's one of these young, elite offensive-minded head coaches. But like that's what I'm excited to see is let's see what he does without Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
And make or break for him right here, honestly.
Yeah, because they got enough pieces. They're gonna I got them winning 6. They're gonna win at least like 4 or 5 just off the defense and the pieces
the
around
run
him. I mean,
game,
you could have freaking Colt McCoy in there and he's gonna win 5 or 6 games.
Hell yeah,
that's
you
why
could.
I have them winning 6 games. Like
I think like a big thing for them. I got them going 7-10. So just kind of close, same idea. But I kind of going back to LaFleur here. I think every great NFL coach, their reputation has been how they've been able to develop an NFL quarterback. So I'm not saying that this is kind of make or break for LaFleur in terms of his coaching career, but I will say in terms of, getting another Packer with that franchise's legacy, it definitely matters a lot. Because, I mean, you've had 2 Hall of Famers at quarterback. You're kind of brought in there to expect, he may not be here forever, and we know you probably may be here a little longer than he is. So you kind of got to be able to get us another great quarterback too, or else we're going to have to find someone else that can. And that's usually how things work in the NFL. So poor quarterback play or poor QB situations usually lead to coaches on the hot seat. So that's just kind of something to keep in mind. But it also makes a great coach when they develop them. So that's another thing. I mean, you've looked at Andy Reid, what he's done with his quarterbacks. Look, obviously with Bill Belichick, I mean, maybe not Mac Jones, but at least with Tom Brady, that worked out pretty well. But you could go on and on with coaches throughout history, and most of them have had to develop a quarterback at some point that was either near Hall of Fame or Hall of Fame level.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, like you said too, they at some point they have some project that they have to develop and craft into a winning team. And like you said, the defense and run game alone should make this team competitive. Unless Jordan Love just shits his pants completely to where he's just turnover after turnover, like they're going to be a competitive team. They're not going to be just a Texans. Sorry, Biggie.
No, I know we're getting there. Yeah, we're getting there.
An easy out, but I mean they're going to be competitive. And I think that LaFleur should take a page out of Brian Dable's book this past season in New York. And that's probably what we're going to see, I would guess, a simple offense where we're going to lean in on the run game. We're going to lean in on the easy passes, the easy reads, and then let the defense cook. And the defense statistically last year, 26 against the run, 6th in passing. They obviously got gashed in the run, but late last season they really turned it on. And this is a defense and a run game and, offense D-line to where they can lean in that. And they can make life easy for Jordan Love. You're going to get the big plays from Watson. You're going to get the plays from Dubs. So, I mean, I don't think Jordan Love has to blow anyone out of the water, but we need to see that he looks comfortable enough to be the guy they're going to roll with.
One thing, too, is they keep saying, it's like LaFleur's like an offensive guru, whatever the hell you want to use terminology. But, I mean, almost every big play from the last, 2 or 3 years you see from the Packers, it's Rodgers just freaking getting out of something, running to the side, just making something up on the go. I don't really see LaFleur. I don't see it.
Well, that's where Christian Watson's going to help him because last year most of
Christian
Watson's big plays were him just outrunning people.
Yeah,
and I mean he's
but it's also Rodgers outrunning the O line.
Yeah, him improvising.
Yeah,
to your point too, Luke, is that Rodgers had safety nets. He had Tanyan, who he trusted. He had Randall Cobb, who he trusted, so he could go and make plays outside of the pocket because he had some safety there. They don't have that. Tanyan's gone, and, I mean, Randall Cobb is going with Rodgers, so that's out the window. I mean, they're going to have to lean on their defense and their run game. I think they got one of the best defenses in the NFL, which is the only reason that I got them winning 7 games.
Same.
But, yeah, 7-10 was my prediction as well.
Now, let me ask you all this. What's the ceiling for the Packers?
I mean, what's the best
9-8
could be? Like
9-8?
Yeah, I'd agree.
I think so. I don't think they're winning 10 because it's never good to be in a situation where you're trying to figure it out. That usually doesn't lead to like a winning season. So I think 9-8 is the best case scenario.
You need more. Yeah, you need more of a plan. Like a goal.
I agree. And if I had to give my final take, I think I agree with you, Luke. I think that Love is probably not going to be it. And I think that LaFleur next offseason, we're going to come into talks to where is he the guy? And they're going to go get another QB, and he's going to have to prove it with that QB. I think they're going to give him a pat on the back and say, Love obviously wasn't our guy, but it's to be determined, I guess, for right now.
To be determined.
So one question I have is, like, do y'all have a guy on the team that you're, like, high on going to the season or a guy that you're going, like, a low going in on?
Yeah. I mean, Christian Watson, obviously, from the flashes we saw of him last year, he's going to be their main perimeter guy, and then the run game. I mean, but the defense, like you said, the defense is solid. The defense and run game will keep them in games.
I'm looking forward to seeing Luke Van Ness out there. I think that could be TJ Watt Jr. right there. Potentially. We'll have to see. But he's got the same build as he does and same type of play style out of college. So I think he interests me because I wonder how they're going to work that in with Rashawn Gary and Preston Smith, who's still above average pass rusher. So, I mean, that's could be a 3-headed monster right there, depending on how Van Ness pans out. So that's scary.
Biggie, I agree. Like, my thing with Van Ness is he is the most Packery pick I've ever seen.
Oh, for sure.
And in 2 years, him and Rashawn Gary are going to be an insane combo. Like, that's my opinion.
Him and Gary were kind of like the same pick, like middle first round guys that had a lot of upside and a lot of college experience.
Big Ten.
Yeah. Now Gary's one of the the most dominant.
One of the highest paid outside linebackers too. So
he's great. He's absolutely great. All right, next team, we got the Detroit Lions. This team, they started off terrible last year. They turned it on late, almost made the playoffs. If it wasn't for the Bucs getting that win, they were actually going to sneak in. But, I mean, this team is now, like, they're the pick in this division. I mean, they got a lot of juice on offense. The defense last year was terrible, but they added some pieces. They get year 2 of Aiden Hutcherson. So how are we feeling about Detroit?
I love Detroit this year. Like, so one thing I have last season, they ended the season 8-2, and so they're riding a high already. And then you take that and you add in like 2 or 3 first-round picks and then 2 or 3 second-round picks, like, and all the guys they added are super exciting and they're at positions of need and everything. Like, I think they're going to be really fun. Like, and you give Jared Goff a guy. He's been in the league 6-7 years now. He's been to a Super Bowl. He knows how the game's played. Like, he knows what he has to do. When you surround him with that much talent, I think their offense. I mean, it was like top 3 last year already, right? I think they're going to be.
It was up there.
Yeah, I think they'll.
It was a top 5 scoring offense for sure.
Yeah, so they'll be. I think they'll have a top 3 offense, and then I think they upgraded the defensive secondary a ton, which was big. But it'll still be some holes in the defense, but I'm excited for them.
Yeah, in the secondary, so they added Cameron Sutton from the Broncos, Emmanuel Mosley from the Niners, and then they drafted Brian Branch from Bama, who was a steal in most.
And they added
C.J. Gardner-Johnson.
C.J. Gardner-Johnson.
Yeah.
God, that guy's just
on a
the
1-year
perfect fucking line. That guy's the perfect Dan Campbell guy.
Yeah.
Holy shit, yeah.
That's what I'm like. All the guys they drafted, like Jahmyr Gibbs, Jack Campbell, like they just seem like
very high on Jack Campbell.
Yeah,
I know a lot of people thought that was a reach right there, but I mean, there's just some stigma from picking, white linebacker from Iowa.
Yeah.
But I mean, that guy is a freak athlete. He's one of the best athletes on Iowa football. He has like lots of Kuechly traits. He was one of the smartest guys in the locker room. Won many awards at Iowa. I think sticking him on the Lions and allowing him to, be part of that culture. I thought that was a great pick. Overall, I mean, their defense is definitely going to be improved. I mean, they were the 32nd. I think that they were last in the NFL.
Yeah,
so
I think you're right.
Only one way to go
terrible.
up from here. But, Aiden Hutchins is coming back on the line. I think they gave up on Jeff Okudah too early, but they still added some pieces to that secondary that you got to be excited about. One of the best offensive lines in the NFL.
Yep.
Losing Jamal Williams, losing DeAndre Swift. Interesting little shakeup. You know, you get a guy who's had some carries right across the division in David Montgomery. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is very talented. I think they reached a little bit for him, but
Yep.
Jamison Williams should be back. I don't know what.
He should be back.
It's like after like four to
Yeah.
6 weeks or something.
But it's
But
better than the whole year,
dude,
though.
Jamison Williams is gonna be really
the
good
thing
this
with the
year.
running back duo, like you said, they lost those two, but I think you could make an argument even that they upgraded with Gibbs and Montgomery.
Yeah.
And the thing, like
could
you
be
said,
made.
like a lot of people shit on the Gibbs and Campbell picks because they weren't the sexiest picks, the highest upside picks. But those are safe picks and win now picks.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
Gibbs was not
They got
supposed to
their
go
guys.
at 12, but he's gonna eat. And I don't know if he's gonna be a guy in 6-7 years gonna be great, but on his rookie deal, he's still got a lot of juice in the legs. He didn't even touch the ball too much at Bama. He's fantasy wise too. He's gonna absolutely eat for him.
Yeah.
I like
That'd be
him, and I
fun
think
for
Aiden
fantasy.
Hutchinson's going to be a big part of how they, do this year because part of what can help out a secondary is having a solid pass rush. So if he develops into, a near Pro Bowler or a Pro Bowler type level player this year,
And that's what he should be doing.
yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what you drafted the guy number 2 for. So with that being said, I mean, if he takes a big step up and causes havoc, he's going to start creating more opportunities for other guys who are hungry on that team because that's just what the whole team is. So hopefully you get some guys in there with that mindset that just kind of take advantage of the opportunities that are given on top of having a guy who's hopefully going to be a top threat in the league in terms of pass rush. So that should help out a secondary, especially if he's going to be, almost like covering you when he's right on you before you throw the ball. So that's going to make it tough. So
Yeah, one thing too, like I thought it's kind of random in my opinion that they drafted Hendon Hooker, but I think he's gonna kind of elevate Goff a little because he's like already 25. The team likes his attitude.
Mhm.
Like, I feel like he's gonna kind of push Goff a little bit just over the edge.
I think
Like,
he'll be
I'm
a good
not-
fill-in in case something
Yeah,
happens to
yeah.
Goff. I honestly do.
Yeah.
I don't think
And
I
it's
think I
also,
think
like-
he's got like a Case Keenum-esque vibe to him, kind of to me,
Yeah.
honestly.
Well, and he's got upside as the future QB potential.
Yeah, and so
Exactly.
when you're the current QB and you put in a guy like that, you're like, hey, I got competition now. Like I have to
Mhm.
work. Like
Yeah, if we see the bad Jared Goff, which we have seen before, then you can see fans, maybe
Yeah.
shouting Hooker's name. But
Yeah.
let me ask this question. So last year, the whole Dan Campbell mindset is we are this scrappy underdog mentality team, and we play with a chip on our shoulder. My question is, will that hurt them in a negative way this year? Now that everyone's ready to crown them as the favorites in the NFC North, could that potentially hurt them and the philosophy and mindset of this team that they're not the underdog anymore? They're the big dogs now in this conference or this division with Rodgers gone. Could we see a slight regression in them from that kind of mindset?
It's a good point.
I don't know if you instill a culture. I mean, obviously in the NFL, it's not as culture intent as say college football because in the NFL it's all professionals. These are grown men who've been here, done this, veterans. But that doesn't just go away overnight. That gets instilled, and the players bring that to, the players who are in that locker room bring that to the free agents who step in. I do want to see. I don't know how complex they were, and that was just due to the pieces that they had on their offense. I would like to see, now you add Marvin Jones. You got realistically a four group wide receiver set of Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jamison Williams, Marvin Jones Jr., and Josh Reynolds. That's pretty damn good. That's one of the best in the league right there. Like, I want to see him turn the playbook up a little bit, experiment, and maybe just, like, kind of take that next step into being a more dominant offense and walking with kind of maybe not as much of an underdog mentality, but trying to maintain the grittiness that they had.
Yeah.
So I think it's like you almost want the mindset of like the Eagles have. It's like
Right.
like
Perfect.
we built up to here and now we want
Yeah.
to stay up here. Like because my thing, like I said earlier, like they drafted guys to come compete for starting spots, and the guys they drafted fit their like they reached on them because they fit their team so well. And like I'm like I can't blame you for that. Like so that's why I don't think that's gonna go away.
That's a good point because after Philly lost to the Bucks in the playoff game that year, the Philly kind of had that underdog mentality, and then we saw them take the next step. And
Yeah, because everyone hated Jalen Hurts.
They didn't shy away from the moment. They leaned into it and they accepted it and said, okay, we are this good. We are this legit. I do want to see Detroit do that because Dan Campbell is obviously not known as a offensive guy, a wizard by any means. He's still the coach, and he's getting his credit because he does instill this culture and this just big dog, like chip on our shoulder, like we will out-hustle you, outplay you kind of mindset, which, I mean, that's why he's the coach there. But so I have one guy as an X factor for Detroit this year. To be honest with you, I didn't even know who this guy was until I did a little bit of research, but his name's James Houston. So James Houston is going to be the guy across from Aiden Hutchinson. James Houston last year had 8 sacks in 7 games played. He had 8. Obviously, he's not going to sustain that type of play, but he also had an 88.2 pass rush grade according to PFF, which was 7th among edge rushers that were qualified. If that guy can even come close to maintaining that kind of play opposite of Aiden Hutchinson, and they could have a real pass rush, then this defense could actually be decent. And if this defense is if it's even middle of the pack, then this team's going to win this division because we know how much juice this offense has, and we know what this offense is capable of. And they even upgrade even more this offseason. So I'm looking out for him. I'm seeing if he could be that guy next to Aiden Hutchinson. I don't know if we got a little bit of fool's gold last year from him in those 7 games played, but he's my one guy to watch out for on the Lions.
Yeah. I like that. I really think, a big guy that's going to contribute. I mean, aside from, I think, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is going to be the biggest addition for them, I think, in terms of, like, because that's a winning mindset type of player. And to kind of get back to what you were saying about, how are they getting away from this mindset? You bring in guys like that motherfucker right there, and that'll change the mindset real quick because he's not going to let anyone slide on shit and being an underdog. Like, yes, they might have that dog mentality, but it's dog mentality now. It's not underdog mentality. Like, they're still scrappy. They're still aggressive. It's just now they're the big dog now. They got to defend their court. And I think what we've seen in the past with successful teams that make big runs in the playoffs, they have a pass rush that can cause problems on the elite quarterback because even the most elite quarterbacks struggle when they're getting put on their ass every single play. So if they can get James Houston to be as good, or not as good, but maybe, as productive as Aiden Hutchinson was in his rookie year, on top of having Aiden Hutchinson being a monster this year, plus the fact that NFC is not that deep this year, that could get you in a good spot to be if you can get that pass rush. But if you don't, you're going to have to rely on these guys that you paid a lot of money to. And sometimes when those things happen and the big money moves don't pan out, that can cause regression again. So the big thing for the Lions is what y'all said, is just keeping that Eagles mentality. Like, we've built up to this. We've added pieces to this. And a great thing is that, hey, they have Chauncey Gardner-Johnson from that Eagles team to kind of sum it all up. So I think he's going to be huge for them. And that's kind of the type of player they need, is someone like him, because he made a difference when the Eagles got him on their defense. And they're kind of hoping he's going to elevate these guys and get these young guys ready to go. So I like what they're doing.
And when you look at the Eagles kind of trajectory too, like, they're kind of, I think the difference is Goff and Hurts. I think Hurts is a much more talented, capable quarterback than Goff. But they're kind of on that same trajectory to where, like, the Eagles, they got steamrolled against the Bucs. They didn't really belong in the playoffs. And Detroit, they probably didn't expect to be as competitive last year in the second half as they were. But yeah, now they are catapulted into this role of, you are the front runner in this division. And then beyond that, then my next question comes is, what Jared Goff will we see? He was great for him last year. And Jared Goff, he had that stint with the Rams where he made the Super Bowl. He looked great. They traded him to get Stafford, won the Super Bowl, but he also faltered out with the Rams. Are we going to see the same Jared Goff as we saw last year? He has been a quarterback when the pieces are around him. He is successful. But are we going to keep seeing that Jared Goff, or are we going to maybe see the fraud Jared Goff?
I would say, because, okay, so this is in part to, like, my X Factor breakout player. I don't know if it's really breakout, but Jameson Williams, when he comes back, just because, like, I loved watching him at Alabama, and every time I watch him in any game, he's just.
Didn't he score his first game on, like, a 75-yard bomb or something like that? I'm pretty sure.
I believe it. Yeah. I don't even know, but I believe it.
Like, first fucking game. Like, welcome.
Dude's insane. Yeah. So, and, like, I think he's the that final piece on that offense. They got that Sam Laporta in the second round to add to the offense. So it's not like they have a hole at literally any position. So I think Goff is gonna reach. He's going to get close, if not reach, that Super Bowl year. They're not making the Super Bowl. I'm not saying that, but I think his regular season's stats are going to get up there.
I mean, I'm not saying I think this will happen, but I think there is a world to where they could make a run in the postseason.
Yeah, I mean, the
there
NFC's
is,
not
there
that
is.
deep.
The
It's really
NFC's
not.
No.
If they're in the AFC, I'm saying hell no. But
Hell no,
I think
yeah.
there's a world with the current NFC to where if everything falls in their direction, then it could happen.
Yeah, because it's not like anyone else in their division's gonna win up like 10, 12 games. They could get the 1 seed.
The key to the Lions this year is that they weren't that great at last year. Limit turnovers. I mean, Jared Goff threw quite a bit of picks last year, and that's always kind of how he's been. He's been that boomer bust guy. Limit turnovers. I mean, that fed into why the defense was bottom of the league last year.
Yeah.
Limit turnovers. Keep that defense off the field. And I think that they're going to need to lean into the run game. You know, they got Jamal Williams gone, DeAndre Swift gone, but play it safe some more at times. Like, stay on the field, just get first downs. And my breakout player to that regard, to some degree, is Penei Sewell. I want to see him take that next step, especially if he's going to be at right tackle, not at left tackle. You know, show that you were a top pick for a reason, and be the guy who you were at Oregon in college, which was one of the most dominant offensive linemen in all college football that we've seen in some time now. And if they can get any shred of how good he was his sophomore and junior years at Oregon, they're going to be able to run the ball. They're going to be able to pass protect from that right side. And ultimately, I think that's going to, hopefully for them, lead to less turnovers.
He's been good for him too. I
agree though.
I
Like,
expect
if
after
you're,
this year that he's going to be like one of these premier tackle.
yeah,
players.
like especially when you're set at right tackle, you better be freaking mauling in the run game.
Yeah.
Like,
That's what that position's meant to do right there. So.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I mean their O-line, it's one of the best in the league. According to Pro Football Network, it's the third coming into this.
Well, and they
season.
have
They're
depth
the
with the
Eagles.
line too. Like they have guys on their O line who have had starting play experience. I mean, I know I've seen Graham Glasgow play. I think he played in Denver for a little bit. I know I've seen Jermaine Fetty play. He played on the Seahawks for a little bit. So I mean, they got some depth over there. Who if things were to happen to the big guys, they have a good enough line to where they could plug those guys in and maybe there's a dip in production, but I mean, you still got a top tier line if you're plugging those guys in. And those are at your most important spots, backup center and backup left tackle. And you got 2 former starters at it. I mean, that's a good mix right there with depth for the O line too. So that's their advantage also.
They still have Taylor Decker, right?
Yeah, he's a left
Still have
tackle.
Taylor Decker. Still have
Okay.
Frank Ragnow.
Yeah, Frank
yeah,
Ragnow.
Mhm.
Hey, yeah, Woo Pig,
Woo
baby.
baby Frank Ragnow.
Yeah. They signed Vitae from the Eagles. So, I mean, that's a
Yep.
good addition
Yeah.
for him.
Yeah.
Their
I mean,
O-line,
if
their
they got-
O-line's
Very good offensive line.
absolutely,
Yeah.
it's absolutely stacked. But yeah, I think we all like it. So what is y'all's record predictions for Detroit?
I have them at 11-6.
Yeah,
10
I like
and
that. I have them at 11-6. I have 11-6.
I have 10-7 too.
10 and
So
7,
we're all
yeah.
within a game of each
Yeah, there
other.
we go.
Mhm.
Just
once again.
yeah,
Yeah.
just like the pack. So, but yeah, I don't think this division's going to be a strong division. But
Yeah.
whoever comes out of it could be a sneaky team come playoff time. But next team up, we got the Chicago Bears. I think the Bears are the most interesting team,
Oh,
maybe in the league right now. We're talking about Detroit making a Philly jump. I'll let y'all go, but I'm just gonna say I think Chicago. There could be some in Chicago. I can see a jump from them this year. But how do y'all feel about the Bears?
1 year away. 1 year away. I
like
think they're
that.
very close. Last year they had the youngest defense in all of the NFL. I mean, you look at that secondary; they're completely rebuilding it. It's filled with rookies.
I love Brisker.
Brisker, dog, Eddie Jackson,
Jalen Johnson's
dog.
a pretty good player
Jalen
too.
Johnson. They just drafted Tyreek Stevenson. They still have Kyler Gordon was pretty good for them last year as a rookie. I mean, that's secondary. And the DC for the Bears, his name's Alan Williams. He was the secondary coach in Indianapolis when Eberflus came over, promoted him up to DC, and made it very apparent that they really want to invest in that secondary, and that's exactly what they're doing. And I mean, that's what you want with teams like the Vikings, teams like the Lions in this division, and Aaron Rodgers is gone, but I mean, there were some good passing offenses in the NFC North, and I liked how they were building up with that. They just got Tremaine Edmonds.
Yeah.
I think they'll get there on the D line and rebuild that defense. As far as the offense goes, the offensive line very young, all really good in the run game. Speaking of run game, Chicago led the NFL in rushing yards last year. I predict a lot of the same for them this year. They're not going to be able to throw the ball yet, from what I can see, at a high level. They did add DJ Moore, but still a lot to be excited about in that run game. I just think that, ultimately they're still 1 year away from really breaking out and kind of competing in that division.
Yeah, so what I would say is I consider this like, because they hired Ryan Pace, the GM, last year.
Yep.
So this is his first year of the rebuild, right? And so he's going into this year. He's got Fields, and he's got DJ Moore, and he's got Darnell Mooney, and I guess we can consider Chase Claypool if he wants to.
I guess we throw him in there.
Yeah, if he wants to do that, he can decide.
Komet's a great weapon, though. I like Komet.
Yeah, Komet, a bunch of solid targets. So my thing this year is
they had Tanya too.
Yeah, I don't think their defense is. Yeah, they got Tanya. Yeah, I don't think their defense is. It's going to be bottom half of the league. They'll have some flashes and stuff. I think kind of like the Lions last year. They're probably get screwed with a bunch of turnovers. But I think this year it's all about Justin Fields. It's seeing about if he is the quarterback or not. That is their goal this year. That's why they got DJ Moore. That's why they got Darnell Wright. That's why they signed 2 other offensive linemen in the offseason. I wish they had 2 or 3 opportunities in the second and third round to draft one of the top interior linemen, and I really wish they would have done it. But they have so many holes in the roster that I understand going elsewhere. I'm not an NFL scout.
They got Darnell Wright.
Yeah, he's great, but imagine if you could get him and then another top interior guy that are both 22 to grow with Fields, but that's just me. I say build in the trenches. But yeah, so I think they'll be really fun this year. I think they'll win some exciting games like comebacks and things like that. I think Fields will run for a lot, and but
they win at least 1 to 2 more games with Roquan Smith.
I think they get a win against the Packers this year.
I think they do too.
And the Vikings.
I think they
get
might
a win
beat the
against
Packers twice.
And the
Whoa.
Vikings.
I think they're going to be better than the Packers. I think it sucks to let go of Roquan Smith, but I feel like that, for what Pace came in last year, and last year I think they were they knew last year they were going to suck. Obviously after trading Roquan Smith,
that was a horrible trade. That was the worst trade of all last year.
But they're playing. They weren't playing for last year. Their plan last year was to suck. They weren't trying to be a good team last year. I mean, it goes to show they didn't sign any receivers in the offseason to give Fields help. They traded away their best players. Their plan last year was to suck.
Yeah.
And I think this year they're looking to be competitive, especially in a division that could be open. But what do y'all – I mean, really the question is, yes, they added pieces on defense. Yes, they got DJ Moore. But like you said, it all comes down to Justin Fields. What's y'all opinion on Justin Fields? Do y'all think Justin Fields can turn into this dynamic passer? Or in my opinion, I don't even think he has to be a dynamic passer. With what he can do on the ground, if he could be a glorified game manager, he can be an elite quarterback. Do we think he could – he's capable of that?
If you're a glorified game manager, but then you can rip off 2 or 3 10-yard runs and maybe a 20-yard run a game, that's
or 50
ripped off 50, 60.
Yeah. So
that's what Lamar Jackson is.
Exactly. Yeah,
he's a
I love
unanimous
Lamar this year.
MVP. But how do y'all feel? What's y'all's opinion on Fields? Do you think he's gonna elevate and take that next step, or do you think next offseason we're gonna be looking at Chicago maybe getting a new quarterback or drafting Caleb Williams?
I think he gets better. I think he improves this year as a passer. I don't think he's going to be there, oh my God, Justin fucking Fields is back or he's ready to go. But I do think he is going to get a lot better in that aspect. I think you're going to see him kind of air it out a little more because he has a strong arm. He just needs to kind of really get some time.
He aired it out a lot last year.
Maybe like a Daniel Jones kind of
stuff. Yeah, he just needs to get a little more confident with those throws. I mean, he has DJ Moore, who's, I would say, much better threat to throwing it deep to than Claypool. Or I don't know, disrespect to Darnell Mooney, but I mean, DJ Moore is light years beyond better than Darnell Mooney. But I think a big thing with them that is really going to be a problem with how this division is stacked up on offensive lines. I mean, we talked about the Lions offensive line. It's one of the best. When the Packers O-line, it's healthy. It's one of the best. The Vikings O-line, very questionable in my opinion, but they do have a couple players, and Christian Darrisaw is a pretty good addition for them. So they do have at least one good young talented player on that line. I would say on the Bears, we have to see with Darnell Wright, and with that division, with those O-lines, I mean, if your best pass rusher is Travis Gibson, DeMarcus Walker, or potentially Jack Sanborn on blitzes, like you're not going to do that well.
Yeah.
No.
Like
You're not.
it's going to be hard to get to these guys and create pressure. So, I mean, the good thing is I think they're kind of going full in on having 3 middle linebackers basically, or 3 covers linebackers and just like a 4-man front. But at the same time, like I don't have a lot of faith in those guys getting past David Bakhtiari, Penei Sewell, Taylor Decker, Christian Darrisaw. So that can put you in a bad spot with teams like that who have some players on offense you can really torch you if you give the quarterback time and give those guys time to get open. So that could fuck them, in my opinion. We'll have to see on that. So I still think they're going to be the worst team in the division, but I think they have the same record as I think they're 1 game less than the Packers in my prediction as being 6-11. That is my prediction. I had the Packers at 7-10. I think they are 1 game less, but I think they are much more competitive, and you see positives. There's just still holes on that team that you can't ignore. So I don't really think 3 middle linebackers, because you can't blitz those guys every play or else they're not being middle linebackers. So that's kind of where I think things get a little iffy for them, is on that part of the team and how the division is just built in general, because got to be built to beat your division. That's first way in the playoffs. So
yeah, I agree. I think they did make improvements on their defense.
Mhm.
I think the defense is still going to be bottom half of the league for sure. Like you said, they added there's DeMarcus Walker, who's pretty decent last year for the Broncos, Andrew Billings, Tremaine Edmonds, TJ Edwards. But yeah, that's the thing. Like TJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds, they were playing behind much better D lines, so it made the life a lot easier. Their life is going to be a lot tougher this year. I think the defense is still going to be.
And this was like DeMarcus Walker's first kind of real productive season, I would say, in the NFL. So that's kind of why I got paid a little bit. So,
But my thing with Justin Fields in the offense, I think this year Justin Fields is going to solidify him as the future for the Bears.
Sure.
I mean, for sure, we already saw what he can do with his legs. I mean, he's a Lamar Jackson-esque type of runner. I mean, he was just outrunning defenses last year solely with his speed and athleticism. It's insane. And initially, when I did a little bit of research and I first looked at it, I wasn't really bought into Justin Fields becoming a good passer. And when you look at the numbers, right? So, for example, for the basic numbers, for reference, he was 6th worst in the NFL on non-accurate balls thrown at 19.3%. Not very good. But when you take a deeper dive into kind of what was the creation of those numbers that were set, the first one I look at is his average time to throw. So Justin Fields was actually the highest in the league on average time to throw at 2.7 seconds. So he had the most time to throw out of any quarterback in the league. And this was not a result of the offensive line being good.
Like this is like buying time and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Your average from snap to throw. 2.7
that makes sense,
seconds.
yeah. Because he was running around like a motherfucker. That's for sure.
He was running around like a motherfucker, but you saw with that how much he can create and improvise on his legs. And you saw that too, how bad the receivers were in creating any sort of separation. I expect that, and usually that's a good stat if you're good in that category. But for this specific case, it's not good. I expect the number to go down a lot this next year. His next number to look at is air yardage percentage. What this is percent of yards that were not after the catch. They were 56.2 a game, which ranked 22nd in the NFL. So obviously, with Darnell Mooney as your number 1, you're not going to get a lot of yak help. And with DJ Moore in the fold now, Darnell Mooney is a 2, which I think he's fully capable of suiting.
I think he's good for that. Yeah, versatile too. Slot outside, like get you good anywhere.
Exactly. And Cole Kmet, Robert Tonyan. I think Tonyan could be a sneaky sign for them. I expect that yak number to go up a lot for them. But the biggest one I saw was his average depth of target. And what average depth of target is how often you are throwing the ball down the field. They were 10.2, which ranks 3rd in the NFL, which means that Justin Fields was throwing bombs. He was not dinking and dunking. He was running for his life and chugging it deep down the field because that was the only.
He was playing Madden on arcade.
He was playing Madden, but that was the only option he had last year. It was literally Justin Fields versus the world. And when we look at in a vacuum at all those numbers, how often he had to throw down the field to receivers that are below average, to maybe not even should be guys that are on an NFL field, to how often the guys were not getting any separation on the outside, to the pass rushes he had to go against, and running for his life like a chicken with his fucking head cut off.
Yep.
Like I said, I think it was him versus the world last year. Now we're gonna see DJ Moore in the fold of receiver. Darnell Mooney is his number 2. Chase Claypool, I think is a solid ass number 3 that still has untapped potential.
He's just got to focus, man.
He's got to
focus. If he
focus,
focuses, he's a great number 2.
But
he's a red zone.
Really,
they don't have a big red zone threat. I mean, the Komet and Tanya,
yeah.
but you need a receiver as well that can do that.
Yeah, he can catch you 5 tutties in a game.
I don't think it's fair for anyone to say that Justin Fields cannot do it passing wise based off of what he was equipped with last year.
Exactly.
I agree.
This year is a real year, though. So he has the pieces in place now to be a successful passer. And can he take that next step is one question. I personally believe that he will take that next step.
I think that they can be successful without necessarily implementing a super pass-happy attack.
Yes.
You look at the Ravens.
Yeah, they do not have to be pass happy.
You look at the Ravens. You look at what
Efficient
Greg Roman
passes.
did with Lamar Jackson for the longest time under Harbaugh. Their best receiver was Mark Andrews. Their best receiver still is Mark Andrews. I'm not saying that Cole Kmet has to be Mark Andrews or that Robert Tonyan has to be Mark Andrews. I'm just saying that it doesn't take 2 to 3 good wide receivers whenever your quarterback can make plays with his legs. What they need to do is find ways for Justin Fields to stop taking hits. When he takes hits and when he has to miss games, they're bringing in a guy like, I think their backup right now is PJ Walker. That's not going to win you NFL games. I mean, it's a serviceable backups, better in some teams in the NFL, but that's not going to win you games. And Justin Fields was taking ridiculous amounts of hits last year. They got to find a way to run a coherent offense that if there's some at least game plan to the madness. With Justin Fields, he's a guy who's elite. You don't want to take away his scrambling ability because he's going to turn a busted play
what makes
into
him
a
great.
25-yard game. You don't try and rein that in, but you want to find ways to implement that successfully. And look at what the Ravens did. I think the Ravens did a great job with it. I think next year I would really like to see them lean on the run game, not involving Justin Fields as much. They just signed Deontay Foreman, so they got him. That's a decent addition for them.
He was great last year.
Yeah, he was really good back last year. They got Khalil Herbert. And then in the draft, they drafted a guy who I'm really high on, Roschon Johnson. That's a dog right there, alpha mentality. And so you got 3 running backs who you can run the wheels off of realistically. Don't lean on Justin Fields to run so much this year, especially when this team is still 1 to 2 years away. Let the running backs take some of this burden, continue to add pieces each offseason and then the draft to the offensive line, to the defense, and then take more of a Ravens-like approach where, at least there's a plan to the madness.
Yeah, and, one thing, too, going off what Cole said earlier, Justin Fields, it's not like he's dinking and dunking. He's throwing bombs all day last year because he has no protection.
Super tight coverage.
And he has – and because he has no one really – because, Darnell Mooney was out half of the last season at least. Claypool wasn't there. He was traded for it halfway through the season, so it's not like he had anyone there to really even.
Velus Jones.
yeah. So him and Velus Jones
and
built a
Brown.
really good
Who the fuck is
repertoire.
Equanimous St. Brown.
Yeah, and they built a great repertoire during the off season, if that's the right wording. But great. Dude, he didn't have anything. Even when he's scrambling for his life, he doesn't have anyone to even dink it off to. You know how many plays or big plays Mahomes gets off play, just shit like that. I think Fields is going to have a good year. I think all those weapons are going to be great. Wish he would have got one more O-lineman in the draft, but can't complain when you got, like I said, that many holes. I have them going 7-10 this year, and so I got
y'all
right above the Packers.
7-10. He
said
said 6-11. Big E, what you got?
I have them going 9-8.
Whoa.
I have them
right.
I have them competing for a playoff spot, and like you said, I don't think they're going to be a team that makes this crazy jump next season to where they're an Eagles jump by any means. But I think that the Poles rebuild is now in full – or not the rebuild, but the plan is now fully in effect. Last year our plan was to suck. This year we're not going to be maybe a playoff team, but we're going to be in that competitive spot. But we're going to set ourselves up for next year. We go and get, like you said, another O-lineman. We go and get a few more guys on defense. And we equip Justin Fields with the right cast to where, okay, year 3 Justin Fields, now we could actually make some noise. And I think next year, if it goes to the plan of Poles like they're going for, I think that they will be on that trajectory. But again, at the end of the day, it all comes down to Justin Fields and if he can take that step. And I think based off what the advanced numbers say that he can take that next step. And, I mean, even back when you look at his Ohio State days, like, he wasn't this dynamic, crazy good Trevor Lawrence, but he was a glorified game manager. And that's all you need from him. If you can have him be a glorified game manager with the athleticism and wheels that he has on the ground and be able to make plays happen with his legs, that's all you need. If you compare that with good surrounding cast skill position-wise and a solid defense, that's a team that could really make a run. And DJ Moore, they needed DJ Moore so bad. And they weren't going to trade that one pick with Carolina if they weren't able to get DJ Moore. I mean, that DJ Moore was like, he was the guy that fit their timeline, fit the salary cap, and like he was the if they didn't get DJ Moore, they're not trading that one pick.
They probably get another first-round pick if they don't get DJ Moore.
He's going to be their best player this
year. And you know they had so many goddamn offers to steal that one pick from, but DJ Moore was the reason they made the pick or the trade with Carolina, and I think he is going to pay huge dividends for Justin Fields and the offense and the whole team as a whole. And I like the direction of where the Bears are going right now.
Yeah, like I wasn't in here, but like it's literally like Hurts and AJ Brown. Mm-hmm. It's did you already say all of that?
Not the Hurts AJ Brown thing,
but it's like
it's
like
similar.
adding a number one receiver to a guy like that. Like anytime you give a guy, a number one receiver, they have a way better season, and it's obvious because you get a guy that can go get the balls that not everyone can.
And going back of how you mentioned the running back stable earlier, I mean, I think the running back stable is better this year with Khalil Herbert, Deontay Foreman, and Roschon Johnson. You get him Roschon in the 4th round. I mean, dude, the second half of last year, Deontay Foreman was just as good as Nick Chubb if you look at the numbers. I mean, Deontay Foreman was a fucking dog the second half of last year.
And that's 3 fresh backs. Like, you can rotate
3 fresh backs. Already the number 1 ground offense in the NFL last year. If we can just see this passing offense just be mid, this offense is going to be scary as a whole. And at that point, it's going to fall on the defense to hold up on their end. And like I said, I think the defense it still has work to be done. It will be improved from last year because there's only a way to go up from it. But that's what I think a year or 2 away from now, then defense gets solid. You add another lineman. I think the Bears can be scary with Justin Fields.
I agree.
Yep.
And we're back. We had a little bit of technical difficulties. But next team up, last team of the NFC North, the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are probably the least interesting team to talk about out of these 4. They didn't add much in the offseason. They added Byron Murphy, Marcus Davenport, Jordan Addison to replace Adam Thielen. But kind of a boring team to talk about, but then again, could be the team that wins this division. I think the Vikings, I think we could all agree there's regression coming. I mean, they won last year. They won 11 games. They won 11 one-score games this year. That's a stat that's going to go down.
Wild.
It's not sustainable.
They went 11-0. They didn't just win 11 games. They went 11-0 in one-score games.
So what's our take on Minnesota?
I think we're going to see a big regression from Kirk Cousins this year. He got so fucking lucky last year. I think we're going to see a big old fall. But he is lucky that he has Darisaw that's getting better as a left tackle. But man, when he gets under pressure, like it just kind of like it looks like a little like he gets scared back there a little bit. And you know, he's an NFL quarterback, and he probably is not actually scared, but his body language sure looks like it when you put some pressure on him. So, and it's a different league now. I think you kind of need to have a little mobility in your quarterback. And whenever I see Cousins run, I'm always cheering because it's like, holy shit, look at him go. So, with that being said, I think we're going to see big regression because I think he got real lucky last year. And they didn't add a whole lot. So they're kind of hoping that they just get better off the team from last year, really. So that could be bad when your quarterback gets worse. So,
yeah, I don't really like him this year. I mean, they swapped out Thielen for Jordan Addison, which is an upgrade just because Thielen's like growing, white and gray hairs. I mean, but aside from that, they didn't really upgrade anywhere. I mean, the guys they signed, they signed like Byron Murphy. What has he done ever?
He's good. He's a good player.
All right, maybe I'm wrong, but then they gave Marcus Davenport like $15 million years.
But they also lost Cameron Dantzler and Patrick Peterson. So
and they lost Zadarius Smith, who gave him like 82 pressures last year. You're not getting that from Davenport. I'll tell you that right now.
They lost Zadarius Smith.
Yeah, he's on the Browns.
Oh,
yep.
And dude, like they just like. Yeah, they swapped out some old for some younger guys, but it's not like these younger guys are any better. And yeah, they got. We could say they got lucky. They won 11 games. We could say they got lucky in at least 6 of them. In at least 6 of them, at least. So Yeah, they're due for a lot of regression. I think they'll have a decent passing offense. They probably won't because, I mean, they traded Dalvin Cook and spent all that money on a running back that's worse than him, Madison. So I just don't really get what their plan is.
They have Madison on a rookie deal still, or he's not.
I thought they re-signed him.
He's on a cheap deal though.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah. Regardless, I don't think he's going to be anything special. If we would have saw something special, it's like Pollard. You would have cut him because he's better than Zeke.
Okay, the thing with Madison though is when Madison's had playing time, he's been really good.
He has.
So I don't think the Dalvin Cook to Madison thing is gonna be a big drop off.
So okay, so then I'll take that back. I think they'll have a good passing offense then because you have to
they
have some
have
running.
Justin Jefferson.
But yeah,
like,
I think they'll
Justin
have great
Jefferson.
passing.
Justin Jefferson alone is gonna win them a few games.
Yeah, but aside from that, I don't think they don't have anything that excites you outside of that, and so I don't.
They're
have them
still
having
going to
a
have
good year.
in my opinion, one of the best passing offenses in the NFL simply due to volume. They set a franchise record in passing attempts last year. You take Dalvin Cook away from a team like that, I mean, you're just incentivizing that team to pass more. They're not going to lean on Madison. They're going to lean on their new rookie receiver. KJ Osborne looks really promising, and obviously Justin Jefferson is top 3 at worst. You could
I'd
make an argument
I'd say
the
he's
best
top.
receiver
Yeah,
in the
I'd say he's top. I think he's the best.
I think he's the best. I
Yeah,
think he's
you
the
can make
best.
an argument that he's the
I said he
best,
was.
but
I
he's
thought he was the
definitely
best
top
last
3.
year going into the season.
yeah.
So yeah.
But they got Hawkinson, one of the best tight ends in the league. I mean, Darisaw is he's not a very solid run blocking offensive lineman, but he's pretty damn good in pass protection. Their run blocking last year was pretty bad, and I think that's why they wanted to move on from Dalvin Cook because they don't see a future in that.
Yeah.
I think that they're going to lean on the passing game again. The one part about the Vikings that's interesting to me that makes zero sense is they had I think it was the worst, if not bottom 3 pass defense in the league last year.
I was about to get to that. I was about to ask about that.
Yeah.
Do y'all think Byron Murphy Jr. is better than Patrick Peterson?
Yes.
Yeah.
You
this
do?
point,
Patrick's
I
like
agree.
You do?
34.
Okay. Well, maybe last season. Did y'all think Byron Murphy was a solid corner last year? Because I thought he was like middle of the pack. I actually thought Peterson kind of did the best he
plus,
could.
They have Lewis. I don't know if it's Sign or Kine.
Do you think he's
Sign.
immensely
I like
better?
him.
Let me ask you that. Do you think he's immensely better than Patrick Peterson?
I don't
No.
think
No.
he's not a difference. He's not going to
Exactly. He's not
Ultimately-
making anything.
Ultimately, too, they lose Cameron Dantzler, who wasn't really that good for him. But, I mean, ultimately, there's an argument there that their secondary got worse. And
Harrison
that's
Smith
tough
is
to
getting
do.
older. So
Harrison Smith
that's
is
not
getting
good.
older. You draft Lewis Sign, and
they're trying to
I didn't
trade
see a
Daniil
whole lot of
Hunter,
him
I
last
believe.
year.
Did they re-sign Daniil Hunter? Or are they still trying to trade him? I thought they're still trying to
still
trade.
have-
They're
They
trying to
still
trade
have
him.
They still
Yeah,
have
so
him.
I mean, if you trade your best pass rusher, you're stuck with Marcus Davenport. So, and then
the
outside of
Saints saw how
that,
that
it'll
turned
be
out.
Dean Lowry, Tyrese Tonga, or I like Harrison Phillips. He was a good little player for Buffalo, so I like
Yeah.
him. But good little pass rusher, but he's not your
Doesn't move the
prototypical.
needle.
Yeah, he's not your prototypical outside rush. He's like a 3 technique type guy. So if they trade Daniil, I think that's really bad decision for them, especially if they're trying to win, because that's just not going to help those corners. And I know that Andrew Booth Jr. is kind of a young guy, and they have some hope in him, but they are kind of just throwing him in there because this is the depth chart that I'm looking at the corner position. It is Byron Murphy, Andrew Booth Jr., and then after that, let me know if y'all have heard of these guys. Caleb Evans, Mekhi Blackman, John Reed, Joejuan Williams, Kalen Barnes, and Tay Gowan. Have y'all heard of any of those players at all?
Mekhi
heard,
Blackman.
Caleb Evans actually wasn't bad for him last year.
Yeah, and Mekhi Blackman's young.
We'll see.
he was
Hey,
drafted,
but
They
I
got
don't.
a Caleb Evans in the last year.
No,
in
Biggie
the
makes a good
Whirlwind
point
draft.
though. Like,
Yeah.
You're kinda
average
throwing them
fan.
in.
That doesn't.
Well,
that
yeah,
doesn't
and like
do
with
this,
the
he's gonna
Danielle
make him
Hunter
really
thing, like I mean that'll show their hand completely. If they trade Danielle Hunter, then they're gonna say,
Exactly.
okay, Kirk, let's play it out another year or two, and then we're going to rebuild. And like obviously, I think Justin Jefferson's a guy you can build around even at the receiver position. He's not a quarterback.
Yeah, you
You
can.
don't trade him unless he
but,
requests it.
I mean, this team. I think ultimately this team. It's not a sexy team by any means, but this team could definitely still win this division.
Yeah,
I
they
think
could.
they're probably right on there with Detroit to win it. The passing offense, like you said, Aaron, is going to be really good, especially how the game script's going to go. The defense is it's not very good at all. They were 20th against the rush, 31st in the pass.
31st. Yeah.
And
they'll probably be coming back a lot of games, so they'll have to pass it.
they're going to be a really fun fantasy team for sure. But even if they do make the playoffs, it's going to be like last year. They're going to be a team that's not going to make a real run.
Exactly.
They don't really have like a lot of these, like the Bears, at least I know the Bears, I see a vision for them.
Right.
The Vikings right now, I don't see a vision. The Vikings are just treading water, and I
They're
don't
stuck,
like
yeah.
that. And a lot of that is with Kirk Cousins, obviously, and they're just kind of middle of the pack. But
Yeah, like even the Packers, because the Packers have a lot of young, exciting guys.
It's
like
just
I
not
love
a
their draft
quarterback.
class.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just need a quarterback.
but
yeah,
even the
and
Packers, at least, they have Jordan Love, who is still an unknown.
Yeah,
He
and-
could be
and-
good. We
He
don't
could
know.
be.
And-
That's exactly. He could make us bite our
Exactly.
words, honestly.
Yeah. And
The
with
only
Kirk
thing-
with Kirk Cousins, we know what he is.
The
so.
only thing that gives me hope for their defense and their secondary is that Brian Flores is the defensive coordinator, and we saw what
Yep.
he did in Miami. And Miami,
True.
That's a good
under
point.
Brian Flores was able to craft one of the best secondaries in the league. So I think they're kind of banking on that and just trying to bank on him, rebuilding that.
Yeah.
Not a very solid strategy. I mean, as coaches, because I do think that Kevin O'Connell is a good coach. I mean, there's something to be said about going 11-0 in one-score games. That doesn't just. I mean, a couple things you're going to get lucky on, a couple
Right.
games, but some of that is coaching. Like, it comes down to
some-
play
some-
calls.
some
It comes down to
timing stuff,
decisions,
yeah.
time management. I mean, a lot of that is coaching, and so I don't think that Kevin O'Connell is the problem with this team. I think that Brian Flores is a good defensive coordinator. I don't think that the GM, who I don't know for the Vikings, but I don't think that
Yeah, I
he's
don't know.
doing very many favors for the Vikings
Yeah.
right now.
Not
coaches
not
or
many
the players.
upgrades. That's the thing. Like if you're trying to
No.
win,
I
I don't see anything that like pops out to me. Like yeah, y'all got better here. Like the only guy I really
Right.
liked was
I
Harrison
think,
Phillips. That's kind of it.
Yeah, out of the whole division as a whole, the Vikings are definitely the team that lost the most out of all of these
Mhm.
teams.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Marcus
Yeah, and,
Davenport's got to prove it this year. Like he's kind of underperformed the past
He's
few
not
years.
good.
Exactly.
Seen enough
I think
Saints
I think
games
Marcus
to know.
Davenport is what he is.
He
The
is
same
what he
thing
is.
as
Exactly.
first round pick.
Exactly.
And yeah, it's just like
So they're taking a flyer on him.
And
Mhm.
I'm pretty sure they got a new GM like a year ago or two. But I mean, yeah, you're not working with much. You got Kirk that you could trade for maybe a fourth round.
You got a good
Yeah,
fucking offense.
but,
That's what you got. Thank
Yeah,
goodness.
but yeah,
Yeah.
you got a great
That's
passing
it.
game, and that's entertaining. But yeah, they really don't have any direction right now
Like you
at
said,
all.
Biggie, if Kirk Cousins has a shit year,
They're fucked.
they could be one of the worst teams. in the
Easily,
division.
easily.
Like,
That because when things go bad with Kirk Cousins, they implode. Like it's bad.
Yeah.
It is bad.
And
But
so,
my thing, I think the offense is still going to put up numbers.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean,
I
when you-
still have them going 8-9.
Nick Mullins
I-
isn't a bad backup. He's kind of played some games, but I mean,
eight,
you're kind of
8
fucked
and
if
9?
you're thrown into that spot. I got him.
I have them going 9-8.
9-8. I got him 9-8, second in the division. So
Well,
yeah,
I'm the only one. I got them winning the division at 11-6. I
That's-
still
Got them
think
winning
that,
it still.
that's
I
fair.
still think-
Yeah,
And here's the thing: I went back and forth because I was so close to putting the Lions at 11-6 and then putting the Vikings at 10-7. I think it could go either way. One of those two teams are going to win the division. I tend to lean on, O'Connell just doing really good last year in those games to just say, hey, it's a safe pick to pick the Vikings again. But this is going to be the last year that they're going to be a good team unless they just completely revamp pretty
True.
much the rest of the defense next year and next offseason. Unless they completely revamp, this is the last year they're a playoff team. Like, they're treading on thin ice right here. So.
And yeah, and that's the thing too. Like, yeah, the defense is terrible, and like if you have a dynamic quarterback, that can make up for the defense. And they have their offense is going to put up numbers fantasy wise. It's going to be a great offense. But yeah, Kirk's not going to be the guy that's going to elevate the defense if the defense is caught slacking.
Yeah.
And so
I don't think
I
he
agree,
makes
like,
the team
they're-
better. That's a good point.
They're the safe pick to win the division for sure. Yeah, and I think them and Detroit are, if we're looking at like Vegas odds, are probably both like right
Right.
up there, close to the same.
Neither
odds.
of the Detroit may. I could see a world where they do, but Minnesota's not winning a playoff game though.
No.
If they make it.
No.
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 Yeah, if we're looking like upside.
No.
Detroit has much. I think the
Yes.
Bears have more upside
I would
than
agree
the
with
Vikings.
that.
Yeah.
As of now,
Yeah,
but
and so like one thing I read, like I was just reading stuff like Vikings fans saying stuff, like on Reddit and stuff, and they're like, they have such a strong culture in the locker room. It's like, who do you have holding that culture together? You have Kirk Cousins, who I mean,
It's nice that
He's
he's
a dork, let's be
likable,
honest.
but it's like, what's
Yeah,
that gonna do?
but yeah,
get rid of Dalvin Cook.
Okay,
though.
who else has been holding down the culture the last years?
Probably
Harrison
Dalvin.
Smith. He's out.
Yeah.
He's almost out the door. Eric Kendrick. He's already out the door.
Patrick
Darius
Peterson.
Smith. He's out the door. Danielle Hunter wants out the door. Like, dude, who is there holding the group together?
Patrick
I don't
Peterson's
think
gone.
they're. Yeah,
Dalvin
I don't
Cook's
think they're
gonna
gonna
be
be good.
That's a good point right there. Is that you think you got a strong culture till all your vets leave.
Yeah.
And the next thing it's like,
Yeah.
oh shit.
And they're
And you
What are we
and
doing?
half of them you're literally all of them you're trading or cutting, and it's just like you're just kind of disrespecting them. It's not. I don't think it's a good look.
All right. Well, that's good NFC North talk there. Next up, we got Luke's top 10 teams power ranking. Luke, let's hear it.
All right. So should I just
Do your
Rip
honorable
'em off?
mentions and then
Or,
rip 10 to 1.
so my what?
Do you have any honorable mentions or no?
Yeah, so I got some honorable mentions. Gosh, I was so stuck at 10. So how many honorable mentions can I say? Because I have plenty.
Like 3 or 4.
3. Okay. So I'd say I got 4 honorable mentions. I got the Jaguars are close. Close to 10. I love Trevor. I think Trevor Lawrence is gonna be great. He's got Calvin Ridley. Defense is young. They had fun in the playoffs, but they're an honorable mention. And then I got the Seahawks as another honorable mention. I love what they did this offseason. They helped build that defense that they needed to badly while still adding frickin' Smith and Jiba on offense, who I think is going to be a stud with
Yes.
especially as a 3 in the slot where
Mhm.
he excelled at Ohio. Like, I think he's going to be – yeah, I can get into him later. And then I have the Giants and Patriots up there. I think Dabble's great. I think I hate to say it, but I think Daniel Jones is going to be a little bit better this year. I love their defense; they'll be good. And then the Pats, you can't count out the Pats defense. Mac Jones is going to suck balls, but I think it'll even itself out. And then I also had the Lions as a close 10. I really like the Lions. Obviously, we already talked enough about them. But so at 10, I have the Chargers. So I think the last couple of years, the Chargers have kind of they got Herbert, but then they got the most boring play caller in the league that you can think of. And I think Kellen Moore is going to go in and just kind of mix things up for them a little bit. I don't think Kellen Moore is head coach material or anything, but I think he's a great coordinator. And so I think Herbert's going to be at least top 5 MVP this year. He could have been last year, but I think Herbert's going to have a huge year. Defense is iffy, but I really just rely on him. That's why they're at 10 for me. So, yeah, are y'all
Just run through them.
all right? And then so at 9, I have the Dolphins. And so I love the Dolphins offense. Like, I feel like when I'm watching it, I mean, it's so stupid because it is what it is. Like, Tua to Waddle is the old Alabama offense. And, I'm like, that's what I feel like I'm watching, but it is what you're watching, dude. And then you got Tyreek, who's even faster on top of that. Like, they literally look like a college offense when you're watching them. And it's so fun. Like, and then their defense is solid. They got guys up and down. They added Jalen Ramsey. I think they are going to have
When they have Vic Fangio as their D
yeah,
coordinator.
oh my gosh. Yeah, one of the best defensive minds in the league. Like, I think they're going to have such a special season. I think they're going to be one of the most easily exciting teams to watch this year. It all relies on Tua's health. Great thing they got Mike White. I mean, but he's not Tua. He can't place the ball like Tua does. And so, yeah, that's why I got them at 9. And then at a close 8, I got the Bills. I kind of feel weird about the Bills this year. I don't think anyone can argue the whole DeMar Hamlin thing just kind of it's good vibes, I guess, going on in the team, but it's also just confusion on what the whole roster is thinking, what's their mindset, what's their goal. I don't know. I'm confused by the Bills. I like Josh Allen. They just fell off so hard last year. Yeah, go ahead.
No.
But yeah, so Josh Allen and Diggs are going to hold that team up. Von Miller's going to hold up the defense. They got great coaching. They got good culture. But, yeah, the whole DeMar Hamlin thing and everything going on, I don't have them super high. I don't think anyone really does this year either. And so right above them, I have the Ravens. So Lamar's got a full offseason. He's got 3 receivers that are all first-round picks. He's going to have a full offseason to work with. He's got Mark Andrews. He's got a great O-line. There's no reason to think their defense is going to regress at all. Maybe they lost Calais Campbell, but, he was like 38, and he's working as a DN. So, I don't know how much work he was putting in, but I think that offense is going to be insanely fun to watch, and I'm excited to watch Lamar be able to, have some good receiving targets, not just Mark Andrews out there, and also run the ball. So I got them pretty high up. They got a great all-around team, top 5 defense, probably at least top 10 offense. And then so at 6, tell me if I'm talking too long on these two, but
You're good.
okay. At 6, I have the Jets, Jets. Jets. Yeah, so I got the Jets, man. Their defense was freaking awesome last year. Like they got Quinnen Williams. They got who's my Sauce Gardner. Sauce. That defense was just lighting things up last year. Coach Salas was amazing. They had such a good defense. This offseason, they missed out on the first round tackles, but they still got a couple O linemen. They upgraded the O line. They got freaking Aaron Rodgers is the biggest thing. Obviously, he's what shoots them up to 6. Because I think him and Garrett Wilson are gonna have a Devontae like connection. Like I saw this thing. I was doing research. I think Garrett Wilson could easily go for 1,300 yards and 12 TDs. Like easily.
Mhm.
Like I think
He's special.
He's gonna be a top receiver this year. I'm excited for them. So yeah, got the Jets at 6, and then I kind of got a top 5. This was really easy for me to form. This 5 is almost a tier of their own. So at 5, I got the Niners, 49ers. I mean, what you got? Ayuk, you got Kittle, you got Debo, you got McCaffrey, and you got a good O-line. And then, you got 3 capable quarterbacks to play the position. Their offense is going to be top 5 again. Purdy was literally throwing dinkers and dunkers all last year, so I'm excited. Their offense is going to be great. Defense added Javon Hargrave. I didn't even think they could afford him because their defense was so damn good already, but they added him. So, the NFC Conference championship, they made it there, and then of course the quarterback situation. So I got them up there. I'm really excited. Maybe Lance will be good. We'll see. I don't really know anything about
Could
him.
be Purdy's show this year.
Yeah, it could. Purdy could just totally stop thinking and dabbing and go crazy, and I might be like, hey, Purdy, maybe he's elevating
Fake
these
Purdy,
guys.
Iowa State.
You like him?
I think he's a solid QB,
Yeah.
solid game manager.
Yeah, I think he's the
very few
perfect game
offenses.
manager.
Yeah,
yeah.
that offense he works in, but
Yeah, exactly. He's got 2 almost number 1 receivers and number 1 tight end. Literally the best running back in the league. So yeah, and then at 4, I got my boys, the Cowboys. So
No bias.
yeah, it's there's a little bit of bias. If I wouldn't have had him at 4, I would have had him at 5. They got even if you look at their roster last season, they got a great roster. They added Brandon Cooks. They added Stephon Gilmore. Those were probably 2 of their biggest or 2 weakest positions. And, both their defensive unit was top 5. Dan Quinn, we got such a deep defense and a young defense. It's so exciting. I'm so excited to see that unit elevate, especially my biggest thing is Mozzie Smith. If Mozzie Smith can just eat up the run, which is, the dude is a freak athlete. If he can do that, Cowboys defense is going to be the best, if not second best. Second or first best in the league next year. Everything relies on Dak. It's all about quarterback play, just like any other team. But if Dak's, it's about the trenches too. If Dak's protected, Dak will play good. We'll see how far they get in the playoffs, though. But yeah, I got them at 4 for the regular season. They're gonna have a great regular season. Still not the best in their division, though.
these 3 are easy though.
Yeah, number 3, I got the Bengals. What's their since that Burrow's after Burrow's rookie season, nothing. It's like nothing's gone bad for them since. Besides, the DeMar Hamlin situation. Dude, Joe Burrow is that guy. He is so freaking fun to watch. I love watching him at LSU. I love watching him now. They're such a good team. He has 2 true number 1 receivers. Jamar Chase is a top 5 receiver. T. Higgins is a top 15 at least. Dude, they revamped the O-line a little bit. Their defense didn't even need any touch-ups, and they still took defensive guys in the first 3 rounds of the draft. Dude, that team is great. They're gonna be great. I have them winning the Super Bowl this year, honestly. I don't think they're the best team going into the season, but I think at the end of the season we're gonna say like I have them winning the Super Bowl. Best way to put it. And then top 2 teams. Number 2, it's Eagles. My rankings aren't anything crazy, but I mean they have such a good team. They lost like 2 players. They lost C.J. Gardner-Johnson and who else? I mean they lost like Kazir White.
And they revamped with young
Ty.
talent too.
Yeah,
That's
and
perfect for their team.
And then they decided to add the back-to-back national championship, half their defense. And 2 of the best guys on that defense. So I mean, not much to talk about. They're gonna have a great offense again. Easily the deepest defense in the league. Gonna have a great defense again. I could see them. I don't know if they're gonna repeat as the NFC champs, but I could see it. I don't see Hurts regressing because I mean he was so good in the Super Bowl, and that's where Super Bowls. I mean that's where quarterbacks are gonna crash, and he didn't. So I gotta keep them up there at 2, and it's mainly about it's all the I mean they got the best O-line in the league too, so they got so many things going for them. I could talk a lot about it, but so it's same thing with the champs at 1. I got the Chiefs. I mean top 5 offense in the league. You got
Definitely not much to say with the Chiefs.
Yeah, great
We'll
weapons,
have to
great
explain that.
defense. Chandler Jones, Chris Jones, and then I mean, greatest player on the freaking planet, Patrick Mahomes, is gonna do his thing, and that's really all I got to say about them.
So
he's gonna win MVP.
my biggest thing. So you would have the Cowboys ahead of the Niners.
Yeah.
Why?
Here you go.
So my thing was like last year. You remember watching that 49ers Cowboys game, right?
Yeah, Brock Purdy, man. Yep.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, Brock Purdy
It wasn't even Brock Purdy. It was because of Dak.
Yeah, and my thing is, I think getting Kellen Moore out of that not front office, but that coaching staff, because Dak has only ever learned from.
So you think Mike McCarthy's gonna do a better job than Kellen Moore at the OC?
I
Kellen
think
Moore's not
so.
He's the OC of the Chargers.
Dude,
No, I'm saying like you think Mike will do a better job
Mike.
as
So-
the new OC.
I think
Because
so.
Mike's
definitely-
Mike's running the shots.
I
now.
think they'll have. I mean, they were the number 1 offense last year, right?
Yep.
I mean, you can't really top that. But my thing is, I think.
Well, the thing with the Cowboys and Niners, it's like we know they're both gonna probably be in the playoffs.
Mhm.
But for me, it comes playoff time.
Yep.
Like come playoff time, like the way I
Yeah,
look
so-
at it, and you have them one apart, but the way I look at it is like, yes, the Cowboys added Gilmore. Yes, the Cowboys added Brandon Cooks, 2 huge pieces that should be really big
And
for
Mozzie
him.
Smith. I think Mozzie's gonna have.
But he's also a rookie nose tackle that was a late first-round pick. I'm not going to put a ton of stock into Mozzie Smith. But my thing that comes down to it with the Cowboys-Niners is one, I don't think Dak is capable of it. And 2, it's Shanahan versus Mike McCarthy. And that's what we saw in that playoff game. We've seen the past few playoff games with the Cowboys-Niners. It's Shanahan out-schemes us. Not to a huge degree, actually, but it's the Niners' defense is so dominant that Dak can't overcome the deficiencies of himself, and I don't think he's gonna overcome those deficiencies of himself again.
Here's the thing: as a non-Cowboys fan, I can see some of Luke's points. You lose D'Amico Ryans to the Texans, so you're down your DC. You lose Mike McGlinchey, so you've lost a
Right tackle. Yeah.
right tackle, but a Pro Bowl caliber right
Mhm.
tackle. And then, I mean, you give teams a full year to plan for Brock Purdy. We saw
Yes.
Brock Purdy in limited action last year and what he was able to do, and teams couldn't really plan against that. He's not watching him at Iowa State. He was not a guy who has NFL quarterback type traits. He is a guy who is, I would honestly put him more a perfect game manager, but I think he's a step above that. I think that's a disjustice to call him a game manager. Brock Purdy processes things really good, and you have to process things really good because Shanahan's offense, while it's favorable for QBs, isn't the easiest to understand
very
all of
complex.
the reads. It's pretty complex.
pretty quick.
One of the most complex offenses in the NFL, and that's really where he excels. And kind of the biggest thing that NFL GMs don't see in quarterbacks today. They always want to find the 6'5" passer who can throw a ball 85 yards, but you need a guy who can dissect defenses and who can understand your playbook to a T, and I think that's what he is. On the flip side of that, it's a lot easier for defensive coordinators to plan against a guy with limitations. And I think giving teams an entire season to plan against Brock Purdy, I don't expect to see some of the bright shine that we saw from him last year. I think he's going to have a little bit of a sophomore slump. I'm not saying
I
think
think
he's
teams
gonna
are
do
out
bad.
for him
I-
too because
no,
they see this little guy and he's throwing up these crazy numbers. ESPN, NFL's all jerking his little dick.
He
and
wasn't
they're
even
like,
throwing up
Dude, I
crazy
wanna,
numbers though. Like
It's just because
Yeah,
he
but
was
the whole-
literally
but they-
Mr. Relevant in the draft. That's why.
No,
And it's
and my
beca-
thing too
no, the
is
whole
it's
thing is
because
he's
they were
with
just
Shanahan.
jerking him.
Yeah.
It's
you
because
know?
he's with Shanahan. Like, dude, like I don't think any of us can say that Jimmy Garoppolo is a top tier quarterback.
No.
He never has been. He never will be.
No.
Jimmy Garoppolo should have probably won the Super Bowl, made another NFC Championship because Kyle Shanahan is that guy, and because Kyle Shanahan could draw up run designs that no one else can.
Yep.
And like, yeah, the McGlinchey, he is a big loss, but we have seen new linemen even last year. I mean, they lost Alex Mack, they lost another interior lineman. They come in the Shanahan scheme, like I don't know how they do it, but they do it some way where these linemen come in and they get it and they work well. But then beyond the offense, I mean, the 49ers defense I think is better than the Cowboys defense. The fact
Yes.
you could have you already have Nick Bosa, who's probably the best defensive player in the NFL, and then you add Javon Hargrave. I mean,
Eric
dude,
Armstead.
yeah, Eric Armstead, and then it's not even talking about Fred, one of these other guys, but just their D-line alone.
Yeah.
Javon Hargrave was one of the most dominant interior defensive linemen in the NFL last year. I mean, and for the Cowboys' sake, when I look at it from like a kind of a powering versus Cowboys-Niners, Tyron Smith, if I had to bet, is going to get hurt, and he's probably not even going to play if they were to match up in playoffs again. And that's my reasoning is I think that then the Cowboys' O-line held up last year against Niners D-line. Not great, but they held up good enough.
Mm-hmm.
But when I look at adding Javon Hargrave into that mix, potentially, I think more than likely Tyron Smith not being there. I don't know, man. And then like the Purdy thing, it's like, yes, I don't want to put Purdy on this pedestal that he's an elite quarterback, but in the Shanahan offense, you do not have to be an elite quarterback. And the thing that Purdy gave them that Jimmy G even never did is he has mobility and he can make plays happen with his legs. Not Aaron Rodgers like, but kind of to where if the play breaks down, Brock Purdy can get out of the pocket, run around, and make shit happen, which is what he did and which is how he beat the Cowboys and how I think, honestly, if he's healthy in the Eagles game, there's a decent shot they would have made the Super Bowl. And who knows what happens at that point.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If that happens, the league's ready to crown Purdy as the next fucking Tom Brady. But I think there's a real argument to say the Niners are ahead. I'm not going to say they're ahead, but I think there's an argument to say the Niners are the most complete, dominant team in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't necessarily disagree with that. And I still have the Niners above the Cowboys for now. I just think it's closer than what it was probably a year ago, just due
Yeah.
to some factors.
I literally, when I made my list, I had the Niners above the Cowboys, and then I was just like, I can't do that.
and I could see either of those teams winning. One point that you made earlier, Big E, that I thought was really good is the easiest way to build up is to beat the teams in your division.
Exactly.
But whenever you become an elite team in football, though, you're adding roster pieces to go against the other elite teams in the NFL. And I think it's an arms race right now in the NFC between the Eagles, the Cowboys, and the Niners.
Yeah.
And ultimately, losing McGlinchey is kind of made up for by adding a guy on the opposite side of the ball like
It
Hargrave,
was probably better.
where you're saying, hey, I'm going to put Hargrave in our defensive line against the Cowboys' offensive line.
He's
against the
probably
Eagles'
on his second
offensive
stringer
line.
by that point in the season.
Right. And I'm saying, okay, of the other elite teams in this conference, when playoff time comes around, how do my strengths match up against other teams' weaknesses? And I don't want to say that the Cowboys' offensive line or the Eagles' offensive line is necessarily weak, but I just think that the Niners trying to add up onto the D line is trying to go against.
So it's
other
almost
teams.
kind of like remember the Niners Super Bowl year run, Nick Bosa's rookie year.
Yeah.
So that year, yeah, they had Nick Bosa on one side, and then they had Armstead in the middle, and they had DeForest Buckner.
Right.
And then I don't know who was on the other side. I think it was D Ford.
D. Ford.
D Ford, yeah. But dude, like, so exactly, you get they literally had to trade Buckner because they couldn't afford him.
And Ford.
Yeah, and dude, so it's like
You
you
replace him with Javon Kinlaw, who's on the up and come.
yeah, and so it's almost like you're almost there replicating it. Like if you got a guy that can step up on the other end, you already got Bosa, who's better than his rookie year. You got
Arkfest.
No, what is it?
Armstead.
Armstead.
Eric
who's a
Armstead.
better player than he was that year. and then you have Hargrave, who's a better player than him. Maybe not Buckner's level, especially in the run, because he's a better pass rusher. But then, so if you got the other guy, literally no one's stopping that defensive line.
Okay, can you go through your 6 through 10 again real quick? Just list them off.
Yeah, so 6 through 10, starting at 6 or 10?
6.
6, I have Jets, Ravens, Bills, Dolphins, Chargers.
So you like the Jets and Ravens more than the Bills? I know a lot of people are down on the Bills this year. I get it. Like, they lost a lot of pieces. But my thing with the Bills is I still think no one's Mahomes, right? But I think Josh Allen is still in that next tier, like with Joe Burrow. They drafted Osiris Torrance in the second round, who was arguably the best run-blocking guard in the draft. They drafted James Cook last year. I think they added another running back, did they?
They've just had a lot of drama going. It seems like this offseason.
Yeah, there was the Diggs thing, but
DeMar Hamlin,
and their defense is getting a little bit older. I totally understand the Bills' negativity surrounding the team. I see them adopting a new philosophy this year and realizing, and it's what we said this last year, is that they can't put everything on Josh Allen's shoulders. Patrick Mahomes can't even handle that kind of workload. Like, no quarterback can. And I want to see the Bills. Let's ground and pound. Let's try to fucking win in the trench a little bit. And then Josh Allen, he can shine late when we need him to shine late. And I think the Bills, I think they're still in that top tier. I think Josh Allen is out to prove people wrong.
I think I love Josh Allen, but I think he has to run so much because he doesn't have that protection like Mahomes does, you know?
But it's the philosophy of the offense is they don't even.
But you can't. They're near the bottom. If you don't have enough time in the pocket. Like you have to run.
Well, their O-line, it's not good. It's not terrible though.
But Mahomes has literally had a top 3 O-line almost like every year he's played.
Yeah, and he's also had insane weapons.
Yeah, exactly.
But the Bills' whole thing is they put way too much on Josh Allen, and they need to understand that they can't do that. Like Mahomes couldn't live up to that billing that Josh Allen does. But I want to see a new philosophy for the Bills. But yeah, I mean beyond the Niners Cowboys thing, I mean I would kind of have it near the
and I don't even really like the Chargers at 10. I just have them there strictly because Herbert. Like I love like the Seahawks and Lions rosters way more.
No, I get that.
Like, it's
and with the Chargers
Herbert.
too, like they had guys down last year. J.C. Jackson didn't play like all year. Khalil Mack got hurt. Like that Chargers defense is going to get healthy, and that Chargers defense on paper at least is
Sante Samuel Jr. looking good last year too.
On offense.
Yeah.
I would have probably had the Chargers in honorable mention. I know they're a talented team, and we talked about this last year a bit actually. How they like on paper they have one of the best teams in the NFL, but in all honesty. I'm not the biggest believer in Stokely, honestly, or Staley. Sorry, not Stokely, and Brandon Staley.
I'm not either.
Yeah.
So I have much more faith in Doug Peterson, though, in the AFC South and the way that team's kind of getting built up. So
completely agree.
I have them at 10 because they're going to make the playoffs for sure. If they don't, I don't know what's wrong with them, honestly, but they're going to make the playoffs, and I think you got to put a playoff team at 10. So I'm going to put them there. And honestly, I know the Cowboys are a loaded roster, but I personally think everything comes down to how y'all do in the postseason. I know y'all perform in the regular season, but for me, I have it Jags, Dolphins, Cowboy, Ravens. So I had the Ravens ahead of the Cowboys, and that's purely just because I need to see it to believe it. If y'all can win a playoff game, that totally changes how I look at it for the next season. But until y'all get this like first round playoff win, like it's going to be kind of like, for me, the fun fact that I love with the Cowboys, and I hate to bring this up because Texans suck, so I'm well aware of this, but the Cowboys only have one more playoff win in the last 25 years than the Texans. So that's kind of unsettling, and that's kind of clearly
neither are doing very good.
Yeah, neither are doing good, but like that's just kind of where I sit with that, and I trust the Ravens organizationally more. I like the Bills. But I think the Jets are going to be better than the Bills this year because they were a quarterback away from being a fucking great team last year. And then everything else I would have had the same, honestly. I actually probably would have switched the Bengals and Eagles because I think whoever wins the AFC is winning the Super Bowl this year. So that's kind of why I got them 1 and 2.
Sorry.
I actually had the Jags at 6.
I see that's not bad because they could.
Spicy.
Yeah, that's spicy.
I
don't hate it. I don't hate it. Yeah.
Later.
No, so like my thing with them is because I was about to talk about the Jags too, dude. Like, I think Calvin Ridley is gonna be so good for Lawrence because he's got. I mean, Christian Kirk and
He's a real
the other guy
one.
they
He's
got,
a real.
Zay
He's a
Jones.
real wide receiver.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, you saw
It's
Christian Kirk put up wide receiver 1 numbers.
Yeah,
and
but
he's
it's
probably
like
not a wide
it's like I
receiver
said,
one.
it's like adding an AJ Brown or a DJ Moore.
Yeah.
There's more better examples, but I just can't think off the top of my head.
No, those are good examples.
DeAndre Hopkins for Kyler,
Yeah.
guys like that.
And no, yeah, and like you said, Biggie, like I would have the Jags or the Chargers. I think everybody agrees that Brandon Staley is not the guy. I mean, the
Diggs,
amount,
no.
and it started obviously before that game against the
That
Raiders.
fucking
to where he
Raiders
elected to
game.
call that
Oh
timeout.
my god.
But it's beyond that. I mean, dude, if you looked at their Vegas odd, their live money line last year against the Jaguars, they were like a 99% chance to win that game, up 28-3, I believe, right?
It's a known stat. They were 99%.
And like, yeah, a lot of it falls on Staley, but beyond that, I think at some point it's gonna have to fall on Herbert.
I
Like,
agree.
You can only have this, and we see Herbert. You know, we see the plays he makes, the talent he possesses. It's great. It's awesome. He's a great quarterback, but I think after this year, if they fall short again, we're gonna start to hear. First of all, Staley will be gone, no doubt about
Yeah.
that. But then second of all, we're also gonna start to hear. Herbert's not going to be gone, obviously, but we're going to start to hear whispers about Herbert.
Yeah, is he elite?
Is he elite? Does he belong in this top tier elite quarterback production? And then with the top 4 of these teams, at least I believe, the Chiefs, Eagles, Bengals, Niners, those are the 4 teams that we know are loaded. We know they have great quarterback play.
Consistently
For the
perform.
Niners.
Yeah.
But we know these teams are going to come to play in the playoffs. And that's what it comes down to, I think, with the top 4 versus the 5 through 10. Is that the top 4, we know come playoff time, they're going to be good. They're going to be ready to play. They're going to be prepared all across the board. And so 5 through 10, that's why, like, I think the Cowboys, Bills, Jets, Dolphins, these teams, they got to prove it postseason time. It's like,
Yeah,
and that's the
I'm
thing
just biased on
with
the
the
Cowboys.
NBA, right?
A little
bit. With NBA, we take into so much account. You do this regular season, cool, but let's see you do it in postseason. That's why I think
And
the Cowboys are probably number 1 with an X on their
I
target
think
of what we want to see.
I think
happen.
something interesting you brought up, which is something that I kind of like take away, which is just like a general big difference between how NFL teams and NBA teams are built. NBA teams, you are usually drafting for the most talented player. When you're a winning team in the NFL, you draft for needs because your needs are the only weaknesses when you're a good team. So I think that's kind of a big thing, is that we're starting to see a lot of teams. They still want the talented young guys, obviously, but we saw the Lions going up and reaching for some guys who thought were reaches. But I think at the end of the day, like, you're still taking talented guys, but I think there's a little bit of a difference in how you construct an NFL and NBA team, obviously, just because there's so many more fucking guys on the team, obviously. But with that in mind,
I think it's different.
It is different because talent is great to have in the NFL, but there's more to it than just talent alone in the NFL. And we've seen it.
Like the Chiefs drafted a tackle that was a need because they had to. When you're a good team, you're gonna have salary casualties at some point.
They lost Orlando Brown.
And they lost Orlando Brown, so they had to draft a tackle. But I mean, the Bengals had maybe some holes they could have patched a little bit, but they were just like, hey, Miles Murphy's on the board. We already have 2 good DNs, maybe even 3. Let's freaking take him though. Why not?
He's get the Legion of Boom.
Who's
the
their
old
3D?
Seahawks
They have
used to
Hendrickson.
pick
Hendrickson.
based on who the
Hendrickson.
best player was.
Oh my gosh, I was looking at
Right,
it
but
earlier.
you're also drafting more guys every time you're making these decisions too.
Right.
So, but that's why I just think it's interesting, just because like high talent in the
I
NBA
saw he
is
wasn't
just
starting.
I don't know, like it's definitely more coveted,
yeah,
I think, than like fit and need is in the NFL.
It's harder to come by.
Yeah, exactly.
I think
definitely
with
harder
that,
to come
with
by.
that too, it's like need versus talent. I think like the contending teams pick need.
Yes.
But then like obviously the weaker teams are going to pick
Mhm.
talent.
In the NBA
probably,
too, it's really hard because talent is so coveted. It's hard to go out and get the free agents that you want, and
And you can't really take
so
as
you
many
sign-
chances because you don't have as many
Right.
roster spots. Yeah.
So in the NBA, your free agency is where you fill the holes, and that's where you get your needs. Versus you draft the best player. In the NFL, because there's so many guys, you could kind of sign free agents or make trades to your needs. I would still argue that teams, and they don't always do this.
Yeah.
Look at the
Like they
Chiefs. I mean,
obviously
your
want
example
talented
holds-
guys, but I think a need
Right.
is still like if they're talented but they don't have a way to play on the team, it's going to be hard to make it work, NBA, that talent kind of oversees what organizationally you're looking at, because like shit, we got to get this fucker involved. And NFL, it's not really like that. Yeah.
All right, y'all want to hear my QB tier?
Yeah, let's
for the
go.
NFC? All right. So my NFC QB tiers. Let's see. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 6 tiers. And so these are they're kind of like a ranking, but they're like a ranking / like categorized type of quarterback, right? So my first tier, my first tier is called the Mecca, and it's only one quarterback in the NFC. It's Jalen Hurts.
Yep.
I think I cover what Jalen Hurts did, the way he played in the Super Bowl. I mean, he distinguished himself from the rest of these NFC quarterbacks as the alpha in the NFC. Obviously, if we're talking about AFC quarterbacks, there's other guys, but the NFC quarterback play is so weak.
So shitty.
And where I think Jalen Hurts really is in his own tier now as far as NFC quarterbacks go. So I have Jalen Hurts in the Mecca. My second tier, and by the way, these are the same tier names that I had for the last tier list I made last year. Or actually, they're
Consistency
half
is
are like
key.
the same, half are different. Exactly. So my second tier is called All Reliable. It's Dak Prescott, Matthew Stafford, Geno Smith, Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins, and Jared Goff. So there's 6 of them. So all 6 of these guys, they're not going to elevate the team if there's deficiencies around to where you're going to win because of this guy. But if all the pieces are in place for these quarterbacks, they're going to fit the job great. They're going to be really good game managers, and they will win you games if you do have the surrounding offensive line, defense, coaching, whatever you want to say around them. They can get you some success, but they're not guys that are going to elevate like a Hurts or a Burrow or a Mahomes would. So that's the second tier.
I got you.
My third tier is called Boom or Bust. There's 2 of them. It's Kyler Murray and Justin Fields. So for Kyler Murray, we've seen him play a few years now. He's gotten hurt. But I still really do believe there is real untapped upside in Kyler Murray if we do get the right pieces around him, if we do get a real coach that's not Cliff Kingsbury with him. Obviously, there's the questions about his mentality and the Call of Duty shit and all that, but I don't think anybody can deny the talent that Kyler Murray possesses and that he does have.
He could easily end up in your second tier there by the end of maybe not the end of this year because he's coming back from injury, but
for me though, he's still like young enough and untapped. My thing with like the second tier is I think all of those guys
serviceable.
Know what they are. Exactly. I think with Kyler, there's still more to be shown potentially. Was my thing with him. And then with Justin Fields, it's pretty fucking simple. I mean, we saw what he can do on the ground with the legs. We talked about the Bears earlier. It's if he can take that next step passing-wise. And if he can, he could be a Jalen Hurts type of quarterback. Or if he doesn't, he could be a guy in a year or two that's a backup. So, boom or bust. My fourth tier is called Take the Next Step, and it's Brock Purdy / Trey Lance. Probably more just Brock Purdy. But Brock Purdy and Daniel Jones, we saw real flashes from these guys last year, but not enough to where we can put them in the old reliable category with Brock Purdy. Obviously, was it a 1-year flash in the pan, or was it just because of the Shanahan system?
Like we still don't even for sure know if he's going to be the quarterback this year. To be completely honest,
But and he could go either way. He could be in the Mecca tier at the end of the season.
Who knows?
Or he could be in a bottom tier. And then with Daniel Jones, I mean, he looked like a bust his whole career until Brian Dable got there. My thing with that, they did run a very simplified offense last year. I want to see the playbook open up with Daniel
Waller,
Jones.
baby.
He didn't have any help on the outside last year, and that was the whole reason for the simplified playbook because he didn't have the weapons around him to run a full offense. Now you bring in they got Wan'Dale Robinson coming back. They went out and they got Darren Waller. You got Shepard coming back. They got who's their other receiver?
They had good production out of.
Still there
They drafted Jalen Hyatt, which they needed speed.
They got Jalen Hyatt.
They needed speed.
They got they got Paris Campbell in there. Now they got plenty of bodies on the outside.
Brophy was here. He'd tell us.
Yeah, bro. Yeah. But with Daniel Jones, I want to see you develop into the next step. I want to see the playbook open up. I want to see you become that passer and taking the next step. My fifth tier is just called Show Me What You Got, and it consists of Bryce Young, Sam Howell, Jordan Love, and Desmond Ridder. So Bryce Young is, I didn't want to put him in a tier alone, but he's kind of like in his own subcategory in this tier as the only rookie in the NFC that's going to be starting. Obviously, he's a rookie, number 1 pick. Let's see what you got. But then Sam Howell, Jordan Love, Desmond Ridder, all 3 of these guys, we've seen them play a little bit, but not really a lot. I'm not high on any of these 3, but show me what you got. Show me that you belong as a starter in this league. If I had to guess, I would say that none of the 3 of them are probably starters.
Was
But
it
let's
Howell?
Love, and Ritter. But let's see what you got. You're going to be the QB1 on opening day, so let's see if you're about it. Then my last tier 6, it's called substitute teacher, and it's just Baker Mayfield. So with Baker, obviously he is a bridge quarterback to whatever their future plans are. He got dumped last year by the Browns. The Rams traded a day 3.
Did they
pick
pick him?
for
I don't know what.
or they cut
I think
him.
they picked him
Yeah,
up off
they-
waivers. Yeah.
They
Or,
picked
yeah.
him up off waivers.
Yeah.
They
So
couldn't
the
get
Rams
shit
cut
for him,
Baker Mayfield.
unfortunately.
Yeah, the Rams cut Baker. Rams picked him up. We saw a little bit of flashes, but now he's with Tampa Bay, and you're the substitute teacher, man. It's like you can come in,
Yep.
and you're probably going to be a substitute for us.
Your
But
role,
there is the chance that we do have a little bit of flash, and maybe we roll with you. Maybe we get a substitute that turns into a permanent spot here at Heritage Elementary.
The
I don't know.
of
But
Baker Mayfield as a substitute teacher is, hey, go out, suck, lose some football games so that we can get Caleb Williams
Yeah.
next year. That's
That's-
the only
yeah,
role that
they-
there is.
They are
for
getting
them.
the one pick.
Yeah. I mean, if they don't, you have to consider their season a failure for next year. I
Yeah.
mean, you had Caleb Williams into that offense. It's like,
my thing with the Bucks though is I think there's still enough talent on the Bucks to where
Yeah.
they can be competitive and to where they could potentially convince themselves that hey, maybe this sub, got half of our students a B+ grade, and to where maybe we'll bring them back for one more year.
teach these kids?
So, yeah, what do y'all think about that?
they got to be really careful.
What's y'all's differences?
That's purgatory right
I just
there
don't
for
even
the
think
Bucks.
they're
Gotta be
bad
really
enough to be the
careful.
worst team in the NFL. That's my thing with them.
I know.
I
but
don't
you
either. They
wanna
still
get
a lot.
stuck in purgatory.
They still have
It's
a lot.
like-
They still have.
I've
good
heard.
talent,
I have
man.
them
my
as like
thing
a
is,
big loser this offseason because they didn't do shit to fix that. So
Yeah, and that's my thing is like Baker's just he's such a sub. He's such a fill-in. It's like, why don't you literally just put a freaking Cabbage Patch doll out there just so you can go get the one pick? Because
Seven.
your team is fine if you can get Caleb Williams while not losing anything, and then you get another second-round pick at 33. That's 2 good players. A great quarterback with another promising player. Like, dude, why? I know it's illegal, but why the hell not tank?
7-10 is the worst record in the NFL. Even though I know that sounds weird because there's teams that don't win games and win 2 games, but 7-10 basically means, hey, we're stuck. We're 1 year away from being the worst team in the league, and we're also 1 year away from maybe being a playoff team.
Yeah.
Now, if you were, 2-15 and then you jump to 7-10, that's cool.
Mhm.
Like the Bears.
But if you're just routinely 7-10 and you're the Jaguars for the longest time, the Raiders for the longest time.
I will say this: my reason for the reasoning of this substitute could turn into a permanent spot,
Right.
or not but like if we play, I think the NFC North it's very unknown, very bad to where I do see a world to where they could win the South.
Bucks?
The Bucks. I'm not saying it's going to happen at
Yeah.
all. They're the least favorite team to win the South.
Baker's
But
gotten guys
there
together out of the core.
there is a world. Mike Evans is there. Chris Godwin's there. Rashad White ain't a bad running back. The O-line, they have Wirfs. They have a few guys. Defense, they're going to get Shaq Barrett back. They have a good secondary. Vita Vea is there. I think there is a world to where the Bucks with Baker, and we saw flashes here with the Rams, to where he could be competitive enough with those weapons, because he hasn't had weapons like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. He just hasn't. To where they could convince themselves to where they might bring him back. But regardless, I have him in like the last tier. So, but what do y'all think about the rest of the tier list? Let me hear it.
For the rest of the tier list, let's see. So show me what you got. You got Bryce Young, Sam Howell, Jordan Love, Desmond Ritter. Ultimately,
So how would you
agree.
rank that all reliable tier? Because that one I feel is like kind of like the more like toss up one of them all right there. Like how would you?
That's really the. That's
if
really
you
the
could
top
separate
one.
any, it'd be
So
that
my
one.
my all reliable tier, and I think some of these guys are higher. Like I didn't like rank them or whatever, but I think some of the all reliable tier are like better quarterbacks than
Right.
others. But I view them as quarterbacks that are good game managers. To where if they have the pieces around them, they can be successful. But if they do not have the pieces around them, they're probably going to crumble.
All right, so let me ask you this: do you rank Dak or Geno higher?
Dak.
Dak
Yeah,
higher.
agreed.
Do you rank Dak or Stafford higher?
I go Dak. I go Dak still.
I'm still staying Dak at this point.
Just because
in
the
my
stat,
career.
I don't know with Stafford this year.
I'm probably gonna pick Stafford honestly, just because
I think I'm with Cole.
I've seen him win a Super Bowl.
yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
I know he had top tier talent around him, and he's coming off
And I've
injury,
seen
and
it-
he's getting old. But
I've seen him make plays that Dak will never make in his
That's
life.
fair.
And the other guys, I mean, Carr, Cousins, Goff. I know you like Dak more than them.
yeah, I think all 6 of these guys though, they're all
Guys
They're-
who could get you to the playoffs.
they're-
and
they're-
that's
okay.
what they are.
they're good, not great quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Okay.
They
Who's the
could-
best?
with-
Who's the
they're
best of that bunch? That's what I'm wondering.
I say
Probably-
Stafford or Dak. Yeah.
Probably Dak or Stafford.
Yeah.
Okay, so Cole, who out of I don't know if it's better to ask one in each tier who's your favorite or just like who are your 2 favorite and like who do you think in these bottom
Well, boom
groups
or bust
besides Baker? He's a sub. He's gonna be off later this week. So who in these 3 tiers is like your two guys that you think are gonna jump up besides Fields because you already talked about him.
Yeah, well, probably Fields and I mean, Kyler's tough because I mean Kyler's probably not going to play half the season.
Right.
It's all about
and
injury.
the Cardinals now are where the Bears were a year ago. They've got rid of a lot of their guys, and the Cardinals are playing to lose now.
Okay, so
I think that's their philosophy.
So
Yeah.
do you think they are gonna trade Kyler Murray this season or off season?
If the Cardinals have the worst record in the league this next year, they will trade Kyler Murray and pick Caleb Williams.
Yeah, no,
100%.
I don't have any doubt about that. Any of these teams that have a questionable quarterback,
They're getting
play, they get
Caleb.
the 1 pick. They're going to pick Caleb and trade their current QB.
Yeah.
for sure.
I think there's going to be a market for Kyler too, which is the important thing.
There will be,
wasn't really
and he's
a
still,
market
he's
for
still,
Baker.
he's still what 25.
There's a hell of a
Okay,
market in the
there's-
NFC, that's for sure.
There's
So
gotta be.
Yeah,
Yeah,
go stick Kyler Murray on the 49ers
Saints.
and watch what
bro,
happens.
that
Just-
would literally be a college offense. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, dude, there's a market last year for Matt Ryan. Like, there's going to be a market for
Yeah.
Kyler Murray.
oh yeah,
and you know
Matt was probably making
some
more.
team, not the Colts because they urged, but some team with a Colts-like philosophy and mindset is going to convince
Commanders.
themselves that they could milk out the best possible version of Kyler Murray that's out there.
What's interesting?
But that's the most. I really think Kyler can still be a top tier quarterback. I really do.
Oh, yeah, no,
he has
Kyler's
not.
great.
He has not
Kyler's
had
got
a lot
everything
around
with
him
the
his whole
height.
career. I mean, we got to remember, like Kyler was drafted 1, and a lot of these guys that get drafted 1 are inherited. I mean, they're getting drafted 1 for a reason. You're inheriting a horrible roster, and you had Cliff Kingsbury as your head coach.
Yeah, that
Like,
don't help.
There's obviously questions about the demeanor and the headspace of Kyler, but the talent does not lie. Like, we have seen this guy make plays that not a lot of people can make.
What I think is interesting is in that old reliable group and in the group of the show me what you got, some of those dudes may not be in the NFL next year. Or some of the dudes in the old reliable group, I should say, make it relegated to backups. This next QB class that's upcoming in the next
I don't.
draft,
I mean, who do you think,
think
of the
it'll be
reliable will be
very
backups?
good. I mean, there's a chance that
If
if Geno
Goff-
Smith doesn't have a good year,
Yeah.
that he could get relegated to a backup. If the Saints fail to win the NFC, I know that they just gave Derek Carr a bunch of money, but as a Saints fan, I was super upset by it,
Yeah,
by
I
giving
didn't
him
like
a bunch
that
of money.
move.
But also, I mean, you
like
can't, there's
what a
world where
stay what a
there's
stay stagnant move. Like
Yeah, I know. I mean,
No, stagnant. No, and
Vikings
that's
could need one.
that's my thing. With all reliable are they're stagnant quarterbacks.
right. And
They're-
they, at
yeah.
any point, if they have a bad year and stop becoming reliable, they get relegated. A good QB class comes around, free agents open up, and all of a sudden,
yeah,
things
so
starts to shift.
so 2 things. One, there's there's always going to be teams that need QBs. There's
Right.
never going to be 32 good QBs. But also, yeah, you got to like even Carr with Hendon Hooker. If Hendon comes and overtakes Carr for a couple games, and then he's the new starter.
Hendon Hooker's. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah, my
Goff.
bad, Goff. Who the hell's gonna want Goff? No one.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
like-
So I mean, any
I
of
mean,
those dudes,
I
if they
think that
struggle-
there's a team that would
But
that would
but for that team, he'd just be a fill-in though. Like
he'd be a film, but I'm saying he'd still be a starter.
exactly. But that's just a fill-in. That's not your
I
franchise
mean,
quarterback.
Matt
Every
Ryan
team wants
last
a
year
franchise
at like
quarterback.
36, coming off a bad year, got to start. That's the thing though is, and that's the thing with the all reliable guys.
Yeah,
I
the
think
Titans.
no matter what, pretty much all of these guys
Titans are gonna
will
suck.
probably get starter spots. I mean, Jameis Winston hasn't proven dick in the NFL, and he got a starter's job last year with the Saints because they were that hungry and thirsty for a quarterback. Like, even if a Geno Smith, who is the least unproven on this tier, goes and has a bad year, some team out there will go and trade a 5th or 6th round pick and take on Geno for a year and hope he could turn it back around to what he did
It'll
last
just
year.
be interesting with it, and he may go in and join a new team and play in that team for a little bit, but there's at minimum 4 first-round QBs in this next draft in college. It's one of the best years in a long time, and I mean that's something to pay attention to as the college football season progresses, but also as the NFL season progresses. Somebody's not doing
That'll
good.
be a lot of fun to watch this year.
He's dropping in the rankings. Watch the mock drafts. Just mock.
So let me ask you.
That adds on. Sorry, go ahead. I got
I was
next.
just say, do y'all agree that Jalen Hurts is in his own tier?
Oh,
for this?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. No disagreements there.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Not in the NFC, no.
so we're talking about all these 4 quarterbacks. So who is it? We got Caleb Williams, obviously. We got Drake May.
Drake May.
Who
Quinn
else?
Ewers is getting
Ewers-
mocked first.
Yeah, Ewers.
He's not. I thought he's not.
Ewers
drafted.
is
No, he's
already
drafted.
getting
Yeah,
first.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
he's,
and he's already
redshirt
getting first round
sophomore.
talk.
Redshirt sophomore
And
this
then
year.
Yeah, there's one more. Who is it?
Michael Penix Jr.
Penix
for
from
Washington.
Washington. Yep.
Yeah, just tore up
So
passing yards. Bone. I mean,
Nah.
if he has a good year, yeah, he could sneak into first-round mocks. Yeah, exactly.
So
And
so
there's
my
gotta be
thing
somebody
is,
I'm
because we're
forgetting.
talking. So there will potentially be like 4 starting new QBs next year. So out of your show me what you got tier with Bryce Young doesn't count. He's going to be starting
Right.
next year. But out of these 3 quarterbacks, Sam Howell, Jordan Love, and Desmond Ridder, who's still going to be starting next year?
Well, Bryce Young
That's
will
a
be
good
there.
question.
I think there's a really good chance that.
Bryce Young's going to be starting next year no matter
Yeah,
what.
I
That's
think
fine,
there's a real good chance that none of Howell, Love, or Ritter will be starting.
So, that's what
very
I'm saying.
realistic.
If you
yeah,
gotta
for
pick
my
one.
thing, I paid them the respect of the fact that we haven't seen them play really.
I'll
Right.
pick mine.
That's why.
I think it's going to be Ritter because I think that offense is going to be pretty damn fun to
I mean,
watch.
yeah,
'cause they're not going to throw
Ritter
it
was
too
bad.
much.
Ritter, I agree. I don't think any of those 3 will. I think next offseason those 3 teams will be looking for a new quarterback.
all the QBs on from really old reliable though, and show me what you got. If their teams underperform, watch how those QBs play when
Not
all
Dak,
the mock
not Dak,
drafts,
baby.
not Dak,
Cowboys
not
are
Dak,
committed
not
to
Dak, not Dak, and I mean
The,
maybe the only one.
the Rams
protected on
Rams are kind of
Dude,
still
what
married to
the
Stafford. even if
AFC
he
is
sucks.
so much stronger quarterbacks
Oh,
than
yeah.
the NFC. It's
That's
so crazy.
something.
It is.
Yeah, I mean,
So crazy.
this
Like,
the AFC tier list will be interesting to look at
Yeah.
because
Well,
it's just
we'll do that. We'll do that next week.
Will Levis will be the substitute teacher tier for that. Yeah.
Well, who knows?
Who knows if he even starts?
because they'll
but,
literally be substituting. So
But yeah, y'all got anything else on that tier list?
Nah, I'll
No,
get there.
I didn't even make one.
Alrighty. All right, next up, we got some NFL offseason winners and losers. We're going to start with the winners. Who y'all got?
Steelers.
Why?
So I just like, man, I want to pull up their draft really quick. So first off, they signed that guy from the Eagles, that guard. That was pretty solid last year. And then they got Broderick Jones in the first round. And then they got man, I really should have had this pulled up. But they basically they really upgraded their O-line.
Kenny Green in the draft last year.
That's the Texans.
Oh, the Texans got him. Who
Yeah.
did they get then?
And so
Yeah,
Yeah.
I knew.
no and
Don't
but-
draft A&M players.
yeah, so and then they also signed Allen Robinson, which because all this like they got so much stuff for Kenny Pickett, dude. Like just surrounding so they actually have a decent O line now, and yeah, they got a solid first round no tackle. They got that guy at guard. I'm pretty sure they drafted another inside guy in the second
Robinson
or
will
third.
be huge for him though. Yeah, I agree with that.
And then they got who's the tight end from Georgia? That was really exciting.
Darnell Washington.
Darnell Washington. Yeah.
We'll see. He was kind of injured, which is why he slid down boards. But I mean, if he's ready to go when the season starts, I mean, yeah, at very minimum, he's going to be a great
Yeah.
blocker. For
And
them at
yeah, they
minimum.
that's who it was. They stole Joey Porter in the second round,
Yeah.
which is awesome. And then they had that Keanu Benton guy who was projected to go early second round. They got him later in the second. But yeah, I really like a lot of the moves they did. And then getting rid of Claypool for a second, and you get Joey Porter for that, dude. That is such
That's
a great move.
steal. Big E, who you got as one of your winners?
Yeah, he's good. Yeah. Wait, hang on, Biggie. Can I say one thing on the Texans? Yeah. No, you're good. Yeah. Go right ahead after. So one, I freaking love what the Texans did this offseason. Like, I think they had a great offseason. But yeah, it is such a culture shift because they built the trenches. They tried to build the O line for Stroud, and I think he has a lot of young good receivers. My only thing is, yeah, I think come let's say 9 months from now, season's over. If they don't have a good record, y'all are gonna be pissed. That is the only thing that you can look back on this offseason and say, damn. But it's still an if. So so and also yeah. Yeah, and
Here's
yeah. Yeah,
here's
and
the
dude,
scary thing
yeah.
about drafting a quarterback from Ohio State. You're talking about the best receivers and the best offensive linemen in college football, and one of the best offensive systems. Although I don't think Ryan Day's that great of a coach, they run a pretty damn good offense over there at Ohio State. None of Ohio State's quarterbacks have really panned out per se. I mean, Justin Fields, I wouldn't necessarily say that he's panned out. Are you confident in C.J. Stroud? Because I see shades of Dwayne Haskins.
He went there for school.
Rest in peace, Haskins.
Yeah. Yeah. They'll have to. My thing is, I don't think there's any scenario where unless Stroud goes down, yeah, y'all aren't gonna be a great team, but y'all aren't gonna end up with the 1 pick. And if y'all did, I think y'all would just trade it for a buttload of picks, which would be perfect for y'all. But I mean, you can't do that now. But yeah, I don't think y'all would get that 1 pick. It's
Marvin
just like,
Harrison Jr.
yeah, it's
That's
literally
who you
it's just
want.
y'all got the 2nd or 3rd or 4th something, and y'all got Marvin Harrison or Bowers. Like one of those guys would really change the offense. So yeah, that's the only thing that I mean. But hey, you got Anderson, so. True.
Yeah. We all have the Jets
Yeah,
as a winner
literally,
of the
and
offseason?
Yeah,
I
consider
literally,
him a winner.
I wrote the Jets and I mean Rodgers. Like literally, that
Yeah,
dude's gonna elevate
that's
that
all-
offense
all
like
you
crazy.
need to
Yeah,
say.
Wilson's gonna go insane.
For my teams, yeah, I had the Jets. The other two teams who I'll kind of group in together and just talk about together are the Ravens and the Eagles, who I have. Why? Because both of them were able to hold on to their quarterbacks for nice long-term deals. I think for the Ravens, they would have been fools to let go of Lamar and let him go to a team like the Falcons and then allow the
Yeah.
Falcons or some other team to become a powerhouse. They needed him back. I think he'll find a way to work with Todd Monken and, with added receivers. Not that I hated the Greg Roman offense because it was unique and it worked for them, but by adding some receivers in there, you're going to allow Lamar to stop having to run so much, stop having to scramble so much. And he's proven at this point in his career, he's proven what Justin Fields has yet to prove, that he's a good passer. And then Eagles, yeah, I mean, you hold on to Hurts. He clearly has a bright future. He ran a lot of RPOs at Bama. He ran a lot of RPOs at OU. And Sirianni came in and said, hey, we're going to run RPOs. And so that was a match made in heaven. I think they got the talent on offense to be able to build around that. And obviously they had the best draft of anybody in the NFL.
Yep.
Just take everybody from Georgia. That was the strategy. I cannot
Yeah,
believe that
it's,
no one.
Yeah, so
I-
they
yeah.
end up with the 10 pick and say, hey, we lost Hargrave. How about we replace him with
With
someone,
Jalen
Jalen Carter,
Carter,
that
who
has
was
way more
supposed to be the-
potential and is cheaper? Like,
Yeah, it was supposed to be. Yeah.
and he's got character concerns.
Stop.
Good thing we have Jordan Davis, his literal mentor
Jordan
at
Davis
Georgia.
is his mentor. Plus, you add Nolan
Well,
Smith.
Jordan Davis saying Fletcher Cox is that boy's mentor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They are
Fletcher Cox is Big Daddy around there in
They-
Philly.
They're gonna be
Yeah.
them Georgia Delphia Eagles.
Him and Brandon Graham, those are the boys that you're asking for advice.
That
from.
front seven though is just absurd. I mean,
Yeah,
wow. But
it's retarded. Yeah, my winners real quick. Bears. We already touched on the Bears, but in Eagles, how they were able to
Yep.
replenish themselves in the drafts, obviously. But my Cowboys.
Whoa.
So as a Cowboy
That's pretty warm.
as a Cowboy fan, obviously there's the things with Dak that we all have our concerns about. Yeah, that's there. But every offseason, it's what do we want to see the Cowboys do every offseason? And we want to see the Cowboys make moves like Howie Roseman does every year for Philly and say, why don't we go trade a 5th-round pick for this guy? Why don't we go trade a 4th-round pick for this guy? And we did that this offseason. We traded a 5th-round pick for Stephon Gilmore. We traded a 4th-round pick for Brandon Cooks. Those are 2 guys on the cornerback and receiver positions that are going to pay huge dividends. I mean, Stephon Gilmore, Trevon Diggs, real case, that's the best cornerback duo in the league now. You pair that with the Micah D-Law pass rush. I mean, good fucking luck, against the other teams. And then on the offensive side of the ball, what did we see in the playoffs? We saw Dak get trigger happy with CeeDee Lamb to where there was no other help. I mean, yes, Michael Gallup is a good receiver.
And Gallup wasn't healthy.
He was coming off an ACL injury, and we see if you're not AP, your first year off an ACL injury probably isn't going to be that good.
Yeah.
But now we get Michael Gallup, year 2 removed from his ACL injury. We get Brandon Cooks in a number 2 role, which he probably should be suited in the Texans.
He's a perfect number 2, dude.
But Cooks has been slotted very high.
Yeah.
Cooks has been slotted as the one for most of the teams he's played on. He has been the one. And so now I'm very excited to see Cooks as the number 2 to be a yin and yang with CeeDee Lamb. And then Gallup is that red zone guy for Dallas. And it's solely off of – and we didn't lose much. I mean, we lost – who did we lose? We lost really nothing.
We lost the Connor McGovern.
We lost McGovern. Yeah, we didn't really
lost
lose much.
Zeke, but we cut Zeke.
But
so.
my whole thing with the Cowboys is we added 2 elite players at positions of elite positions. But even more than that, it's the philosophy and the GM work of the moves that as us fans we want to see them make, but they never make. They always make these smart, shrewd moves that are non-splashy, not sexy moves.
They try to build through the draft.
Exactly. But now we see them go out and say, okay, we saw what you did, Howie Roseman. We saw how you traded those picks for Hassan Reddick. Or did they sign Reddick?
They signed Reddick. No, they traded those picks. They traded the picks for AJ Brown, and then they traded for Darius Slay.
Okay,
but they traded for Gardner Johnson midway.
But if you're Jerry Jones and co, we see the moves that all these teams make around the year that we clamor for every year, trading day 3 picks for elite production level players. We did that this year, and I'm so excited to see that Diggs-Gilmore duo, and then Cooks cherry on top. But they got
lucky with that Wentz trade too, because they didn't. Even
and then I guess for losers, we talked about the Bills a little bit, but I think the Raiders are big time losers. I mean, we look at the Raiders off season last year. Raiders last year is okay. We're gonna get Devontae Adams in. We had a good year last year. Now we're going to make a splash in the hardest division of football. Well, guess what? It didn't happen, and it really isn't that shocking. And now for the Raiders, Derek Carr bitches, complains. He's out of town now. And what do? No, we don't tear it down, which was what we should do. We go and we get the most mid-level quarterback out there in Jimmy Garoppolo, who also will be lucky to play 10 games. And so I just don't get it for the Raiders' sake. And I'm a huge believer in, if it's NFL, NBA, whatever sport, if you're a middling team without a top-tier talent at the quarterback position, tear it down, bro. Sure, you want to sell tickets, you want to get people in the stands, but tear it down. You're not making a run with Jimmy G as your quarterback.
You can only sell so many Devontae Adams jerseys. You can only sell so many of them.
And now, if I had to bet, I would bet Devontae Adams is out of there next year because Devontae Adams came to the Raiders to play with his boy Derek Carr and to be competitive and to win. And now he's playing with Jimmy Garoppolo and a very middling team and one of the worst head coaches in the NFL, in Josh McDaniels. And I think the Raiders are a big time loser.
I just called him a shittier version of the Patriots, and that's all it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I see they got. Yeah. Oh, hey, Chandler Jones, you're good for the Patriots. Why don't you come on here like 6 years later? Oh, Jimmy G, the Patriots saw something that we liked in you. We're gonna bring you on. I mean, and they found some guys in the draft. I think Trayvon Morig is a good safety. I think Max Crosby is a top tier defensive lineman. But I mean, they're not gonna compete. That's a team stuck in purgatory. If the best case scenario for the Raiders is that they suck balls this year and then just tear everything down, like you said. There's no hope for them.
Best case is
long-term.
that Jimmy G gets hurt week 2,
Yeah.
and they suck so bad where they can go snatch Caleb Williams.
Yeah, exactly.
That's best case. And the fact that we're saying best cases are the worst team in the league is not
It's
good.
pretty fucking tough.
And then they'll have Caleb Williams, and they'll still have a bunch of dudes on super high contracts that are old, and then not a lot of young players. Like
At that
it's,
point, though,
they're just not really
if you
built
are
for
able to
anything.
land Caleb Williams, it's a win in itself. But
Right.
obviously, any teams and players' mindset going into the year is to not have that happen. But when you look at a futuristic perspective and a fan perspective, that's what you'd probably want from them. But y'all got any more?
Nah.
I had them. Yep.
Which ain't gonna happen.
Right. I had the Rams. I won't get into it too much because I know they got salary concerns, so they can't really make any moves to get better. But, I mean, at the same time, like, what's the direction going? You guys better lose all the games
It's
this year.
it's literally the definition. Like everyone, you kept saying, "Fuck them picks," you know.
Yeah.
This is it. It's biting them in the
Yeah,
ass.
it's biting them in the ass.
This
you
is
sold
what you
your
should have
soul
expected.
for the Super
yeah.
Bowl,
Yep.
and that's cool. But it's like, here we are 2 years later, and now you got this expensive stadium with a team that's going to win 5 or 6 games, even though they have Matthew Stafford and a top 3 wide receiver.
Yeah.
So, not excited about that. But yeah. Anything else there? Y'all
I
good?
think we're good there. And
Cool.
then our last topic before the one quick fun question is our bold predictions for the season. Aaron, you want to start us off here?
I'll start us off here, and I was going to talk about this a little bit earlier when we were talking about the Jags, but I'll use the time to talk about it now. I think it's a pretty bold take. I think the Jags are going to have a top 3 record in the NFL this year.
Ooh.
I don't necessarily consider them one of the best 3 teams in the NFL. I think the AFC South provides them the opportunity for a clean sweep of 6 games, 6 wins, and then you look at I know it hurts to hear as a Texans fan, but it's not out of the realm for them to just pull off the sweep. I think the Titans got worse, especially if they put Will Levis in at quarterback, because I think that he is dog shit. But
What about Malik?
Huh?
Is Malik done?
he was done, yeah.
Yeah. They were
But
better off.
think about
yeah,
it.
from a
6 to
Kenny running back.
17
Yeah.
6 to 17 games, you're close to guaranteed. And then you got 11 games. If you win 6 of those, that puts you at 12 wins, which is already pretty close to top 3 record. So if you win 7 of 11 games, and you get to 13 wins, pretty sure that would have been top 3 in the NFL in terms of records last year. I think it's pretty manageable. And so when I first said it out loud, I was like, Jags is a top 3 record. And then I started to go through the schedule, looked at the AFC South. I was like, you know what? It's pretty possible if Trevor Lawrence makes this next jump for them to be one of the top teams going into the playoffs next year. Because they're going to make the playoffs. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
But second hot take. I'm waiting to drop this one on y'all. I know you Cowboys fans are
Oh, great.
going to love it. I think
Don't say we're going to miss the playoffs.
I think that the Cowboys are going to make the Super Bowl next year.
Ooh. Spicy.
I don't think that they win it though. That's why
Dak's
I
the
really
best quarterback in
battled
the
with it.
league.
I started looking at when going
Get
through
the
the
jerseys.
NFC tier list of QBs.
Mike
I
McCarthy's
was
getting
like,
jacked.
holy shit! The
Re-sign
NFC
Zeke.
QBs are so much worse than the AFC QBs, and the teams. Yeah, and the teams are not good. Like, I have 3 NFC teams in the top 10, and it's the Niners, the Eagles, and the Cowboys. Something about it tells me that the Eagles won't be back in the Super Bowl, which leaves the Cowboys versus the Niners. And for reasons that I talked about earlier, I just think that the Cowboys have a decent shot. I'm not going to guarantee it. I definitely wouldn't put any money on it.
They
or
got
go
that
to
chip
Vegas
on their
with
shoulder.
It.
Niners have beat them like 2 or 3
But you know what?
postseasons in a row too.
And this is what I'll say too. If the Cowboys can't make the Super Bowl this year, welcome to fucking purgatory, bitches. Because like y'all, this is the year. The offensive line is getting older.
I
You
will
got a
say
we've
defense-
said it the past 10 years.
You got a
Kyle, we're
defense
used
with a
to it.
bunch of veterans. You're gonna have to go and sign a bunch more veterans on the defense. So it's like, this is kind of it. This is your window right here.
Yeah.
You're at the very end of your window. You know, Tony Pollard's coming off an ACL injury. Dak isn't getting any younger. You know, this is kind of it for the Cowboys right here. They better perform. And I'm not saying it's Super Bowl or bust. You make the NFC Championship game, you can celebrate a good season. But Cowboys fans should be looking at the season saying, hey, all these years we've been saying, this is the year, this is the year. No, the NFC sucks. You have a complete roster. This is the year. And if you fuck this up, I don't know when the next shot is going to come.
I hope to God you're right, man.
I agree.
Big E, what do you got?
I think that's fair.
Yeah, the Vikings window is closing too, like we talked about. So
I
mean,
will
see
say I
that.
disagree with the Vikings one. I think I still think the Vikings are like a safe team to win at least 7 games. Well, the thing with Kirk though is he has never been. I feel like that's the whole thing with Kirk is he's never been that bad. You know, he's never been great, but he's
Redskins,
never been with
He
the
had
Redskins.
some bad years, but that was with the
that
Redskins.
that was terrible teams, and that was also a young Kirk. Like, I mean, it really his whole career he's been a very middle of the pack quarterback.
You know what you're getting.
And my thing with like the fact their O line is not good. It's not bad though by any means, and they still have Jay Jettas and T.J. Hawk and the rookie. I don't. That'd be great
Uh-huh.
for, but I think the Vikings are going to be good enough. To
I don't think
win
that roster is
7
bad
games.
enough for that to happen, though.
I don't either.
Not with some of these teams we
agree.
talked about.
Luke.
All right, so I guess we're doing 2 each. So my first one, Bijan Robinson's going to lead the league in rushing this year.
As a Texas fan, it's music to my ears, but as a Texas Arkansas fan, which is a
Rookie?
contradiction, but
rookie?
Okay.
No, I love it, man.
Not
So
impossible.
they still got Algier in the backfield. Like one of y'all said earlier, they led the league in rushing last year, or rushing attempts. Like they literally, I think they're gonna go balls to the wall, rushing the ball. Arthur Smith loves to run the ball. I mean, he had Derrick Henry in Tennessee. I think the whole reason. I mean, people were saying, "Hey, this Falcons team has plenty of holes. If they take Bijan, that's a luxury pick." They took him, okay, and it's a luxury pick because they want to run the damn ball, and that's what they're gonna do. And that's how Arthur Smith sees how they're gonna win games. So, and I mean, Bijan's got the freshest legs in the league. He's got some of the most talent in the league, and he's got a good O-line. I imagine Pitts is a great blocker. I couldn't tell you, but
Their
yeah.
offensive line isn't terrible, though.
But he adds to a red zone offense. You know, you got to take care of him. You got to take care of. Yeah, Drake London's another guy in the red zone you got to take care of. They added a couple receivers this offseason. Like I just. Nothing crazy to where they're going to be passing it, but I think Bijan's just going to go berserk. I think he's going to have a Zeke-like rookie year, if not better.
Fantasy tip, I would look at Bijan at the end. If you're picking at the end of the first round, I would definitely
I'd look at Bijan early first round.
I might take Bijan with my 1 pick.
Hell no.
I have the 1 pick in one of my 10-man leagues. I might take Bijan 1.
Biggie, where would you take Bijan? What's the ceiling on Bijan? I really think it's 1. I think it's 1.
I'm taking him 1.
I look at it how Buzzsaw picked Zeke won his rookie year a few years or
That's
6
exactly
years
how
ago.
I see it.
Like I think Bijan could be the best fantasy running back.
Yeah.
this year.
that and
And we'll get into some here in a few
McCaffrey
weeks.
has so many other
Here,
guys getting
here
the
in like a
ball.
month,
we're
3 or 4
getting
weeks,
fantasy
we'll
rankings.
get
Yeah.
some heavy fantasy. But
Okay.
what's your other one?
Okay. And so my other one, I have Big E. So I have John Mechie is going to be the best player on the Texans this season. Yeah, dude, you look at he's never played in the NFL, but you look at a dude played in college. Watch any game where that dude's playing, or like maybe the season when he got cancer. I don't know if he got it in the college or NFL, but dude, I think anyone that watches college football knows the John Mechie touchdown celebration where you look like you're a freaking Karate Kid about to kick like a mother, like at the final scene of the movie, dude. Like watching him at Bama, it's like watching Jalen Waddle, like that dude has got wheels on him. He's insane. I think obviously coming back from cancer is nothing that any of us could even describe, especially going into an NFL season, but I just think that dude has a lot of good character, a lot of good things in him. Yeah, and I don't think Stroud is going to see anyone that he likes more than him open in the field, and especially with the ball in after the ball's in his hand. So I really think Mechie's going to go off this year.
Very good. Very good. So my 2 bold predictions. So my first prediction is that the New Orleans Saints get the number 1 seed in the NFC. So this is very, and shout out Buzzsaw. This is very
Wow.
Buzzsaw last year predicted for Philly to get the 1 seed in the NFC last year. It's kind of Buzzsaw-esque. No one picked Philly. No one's picking the Saints.
I don't like this.
Coming into this year, obviously for starters, right? The Saints have the second easiest strength of schedule in the NFL. They're getting 6 games against the Bucks, Panthers, and Falcons. There's a good chance they can go 6.
But you're worse
there.
than all of them.
No.
The Saints are the favorite. The Saints are the Vegas favorites to win that division. Okay. So, on the offensive side of the ball, this is arguably Derek Carr's best supporting cast. He's getting arguably one of the best deep ball receivers in the NFL, and Chris Olave. Derek Carr is one of the best deep ball receivers in the league. Alvin Kamara's suspension we just saw just got thrown off. He's coming back next year. Jamal Williams is coming in there. Michael Thomas, another year removed from his injury, suspension, all his fiasco. But then beyond that, it's the Saints defense where I think they're really going to be carried. Coming into last year, Many of us had the Saints defense as the best defense in the NFL. They were still 6th in points allowed last year. And keep in mind, the Saints defense last year was in an extremely negative game script more times than not. With Taysom Hill and Andy Dalton on the field, we had turnovers. We had 0 time of possession for the offense. That defense was dog fucking tired. And why should that defense have been motivated? They were playing with Taysom Hill and Andy Dalton at quarterback. Now you get a motivated Derek Carr in there that's going to lead, I think, a decent offense. And you have, in the Saints defense, you have elite level production at all 3 levels. You have Cam Jordan on the D-line. You have Demario Davis at linebacker. You have Marshawn Lattimore, who was hurt for most of last year, coming back. Marcus May, Tyrann Mathieu. And this defense is one of the most experienced veteran defense that has played together for a long time now. This defense is fucking elite, especially in a weak NFC. I think there's and it's bold. Yes, it's bold. The Saints are not supposed to be the 1 seed. But for my bold prediction, this is the one that I convinced myself enough to where, okay, I could actually see this happening based off of the mindset, the talent on the defense, and then the philosophy and motivation for Derek Carr on the offensive side of the ball, mixed in with the talent they have. My concern is Dennis Allen. I think he's a terrible head coach. And it also is concern with Pete Carmichael, even though Pete Carmichael has been with Sean Payton for years and years and years, since, I think 2006.
Didn't show it last year, though.
And he was Pete Carmichael was terrible last year.
Whole team was.
Because I had Kamara on my fantasy team, and the fact that they would run Kamara first and second down up the middle, and then they would put in Latavius Murray for 3rd downs, I don't understand that. I'm hoping Pete Carmichael can reel it back in and flip the script on that and use Kamara, what Kamara is still best used. Kamara is still a very good player. When he played last year, he was elite. They just didn't use him right.
My thing with the Saints is, you're taking a team that last year they didn't do much. Where are they getting motivation? Okay, so they have their old team last year, okay? You take that. Your team's kind of whatever. You're like, all right, we were wishy-washy last year.
The Saints are a talented team.
Yeah, okay, but you're like, we were middle of the pack last year, whatever. You're like, okay, yeah,
Injuries
sure, we had
played a part.
fucking Jameis Winston and Andy Dalton, but
Jameis Winston barely played. It was Taysom Hill, Andy Dalton.
Regardless, Jameis is probably worse than Taysom.
No, he's not. Jameis was good when he played.
Okay, well, still
For the Saints, at least.
Yeah.
okay. I don't remember him.
Taysom Hill is a fucking
he's
Madden
a tight end.
quarterback.
Yeah, no. So literally, my thing is so you take that and then you get this guy Derek Carr, who literally didn't work with the team that drafted him, that believed in him so much.
What do you mean the team Derek Carr was productive as hell for the Raiders.
Yeah, for a couple years.
Derek Carr had very good season with the Raiders.
But I'm saying he fell off after a couple years.
Look at Derek Carr's career with the Raiders. Did he ever have a good head coach?
No. Does he have a good head coach now?
No, he still did. No, he didn't.
No, he doesn't.
Did he ever have offensive weapons legitimately besides Devontae Adams?
I don't follow
the Raiders' defense his whole career were some of the worst defenses in the NFL.
Yep.
Derek Carr inherited one of the worst situations a quarterback could inherit in
my thing though is
Oakland/Vegas.
When have you ever seen Derek Carr come out on top, be the guy winning the game? Anytime the Raiders have ever won a game in the final seconds, it's because they get a fucking pick six miraculously. Derek Carr, the one time he had a fucking chance to win a game was against the Cowboys, and he fumbled the ball for Jeff Heath to pick up at the goal line. That's the only memory I have of
That's your
Derek
argument
Carr.
that he fumbled in that one game against the Cowboys.
Well, okay, you tell me his greatest game. What's his
Derek
greatest
Carr
achievement?
beat Justin Herbert to get them in the playoffs, not last year, the previous year.
Yeah.
And yeah, Brandon Staley made a bonehead move, but Derek Carr played great that game.
Then what they do the next game?
They lost in the playoffs, but that's my whole argument is that Derek Carr has had no talent. Derek Carr has inherited literally minimal talent in Oakland/Las Vegas his whole career. He dealt with the John Gruden fucking all that bullshit. He dealt with Henry Ruggs killing someone.
Do you not remember
Derek Carr,
after in 2017 or 18, the Raiders and the Cowboys were the two top team, supposed to be the two best teams in the season, and then the Raiders sucked dick.
And why were the Raiders in that position? It was because of Derek Carr.
Yeah, because he had Amari Cooper too.
Yeah, he had Amari Cooper. What else did he have?
I don't know. That was 2016.
The Raiders were in that position because of Derek Carr.
Exactly, and he fell off.
Because they got John Gruden. They had Henry Ruggs. Derek Carr has been the fucking master of dealing with controversy his whole career. You could not say in the past 6-7 years there's been a quarterback that has dealt with more controversy and fiasco in the front office and just off the field shit than Derek Carr. Derek Carr has dealt with so much drama and so much shit.
Okay, that's
Derek
fair.
Derek Carr has been
Yeah.
the staple for those Raiders teams.
Yeah, he's been
the only
great. But
reason
like,
those
what
Raiders
has he
teams have
done
been
on the field that's
competitive.
been so great though?
I love
He's a
hearing
three-time Pro Bowler, and
Hey.
it's Derek Carr.
I mean, bro, Daniel Jones is probably a fucking Pro Bowler at this point. It's not
has
like that
Has
matters.
Daniel Jones made a Pro Bowl?
I don't know.
No, he hasn't. And what has Daniel Jones done before Brian Dable? Nothing. Daniel Jones before Brian Dable was considered a colossal bust. And everyone was ready to move off Daniel Jones until they got Brian Dable. You give Derek Carr Brian Dable.
Derek Carr's had like 4 coaches.
Exactly. How is a
So
quarterback
okay,
supposed
so
to
you're
develop with
literally
4
saying
different
you move
coaches?
off one coach and you get one, and then they're gonna be better. Like, dude,
No. I'm saying that's a big reason of why Derek Carr hasn't been able to thrive on a very high level.
and he's
What-
getting another shitty ass coach though. You literally said that yourself.
Yeah, he's getting a shitty coach, but he's also inheriting probably the best roster he ever has.
Okay,
Name a Raiders roster that's better for his whole career in 6-7 years, but is better than the current Saints roster.
there's
When we look at
okay,
defense,
there's not one, but my thing
defenses
is,
aren't even a conversation. Not even a conversation.
I just
Skill
don't. I
position
personally
wise,
don't
there
have that
is.
belief in Derek Carr that he's gonna make them. I don't even know if he's gonna make them the best in their own division. Like seriously.
I personally,
Well, and that's why it's a
all,
bold prediction. I'm not
I-
saying Derek Carr's going to be the 1 seed. That's a bold prediction. That's what
I
bold predictions
absolutely
are.
love hearing a Cowboys fan stick up for the Saints and stick up for Derek Carr for sure.
I respect Derek Carr.
That's
Everyone
awesome to
shits
hear.
on
As a
Derek
Saints
Carr.
fan,
Like
as a
Derek,
Saints fan,
like
this
I
is
really
perfect.
believe if you were to if Dak was to be drafted, because I think they were like a year or two apart of being drafted, right? If Derek Carr and Dak were to be drafted by if Dak was drafted by the Raiders and Carr was drafted by the Cowboys, I think there's a really good chance that the Cowboys may have been an NFC Championship by now, and that
Yeah.
Dak Prescott
I agree
potentially
with
could
that.
be
That's a better-
a backup
because
type
I
of
actually agree
player
with
at
that.
this
That's
point.
a better way
There's
to
a
put it.
definite argument
'Cause
that Derek Carr is
it's-
better than Dak, and it's very, very, very close. And I think that both of those guys are in the same realm. Derek Carr has some better traits than Dak, and Dak has played with a much better team than Derek Carr has. And ultimately, I mean, this is coming from a Saints fan right here. I don't believe that we're going to finish with the best record in division. I'm not going to. I think that we're going to win the division. I think that the Saints trading for Derek Carr is the Saints telling their fans, hey, don't stop buying season tickets.
Yeah,
We ain't giving up. Don't stop buying season tickets because we're going to win divisions.
And the
we're gonna win a
Saints
lot.
they're a winning franchise.
Yeah.
The
And yeah.
it's a winning. The Raiders have back in the day they were. But the Raiders of the past 20 years is not a winning franchise
I
by
don't
any means. Raiders have been a laughing stock the past 20 years. In the past 20 years, Derek Carr has been the only element that has kept them in any sort of consistent mediocre talk.
outside
Without
of,
Derek Carr, bro, in the
I mean,
past
I
6,
feel
7
like
years,
he's always had at least decent weapons on the field. Like
outside
and
of
he doesn't produce like
yeah,
crazy.
Cameron
okay.
Jordan, the
Yeah,
Saints
pull it up.
don't have a defensive line though. Like Brian Brissett, we had 2 defensive tackles on the roster at one point.
Saints secondary is nasty though.
Our secondary is very good,
And-
and Demario Davis is one of the most underrated players
He's
in the NFL.
been great his whole
He's-
career.
yeah,
Yeah, he's
still
awesome.
great.
And I mean, ultimately,
Marcus Lattimore missed 11 games last year
yeah.
too.
And now that we got him coming
One of the
back,
best
and I think
cornerbacks in
Paulson
the NFL.
Adebo is going to be better this year.
Marcus May.
Marcus May.
Honey
We
Badger.
just got Tyrann Matthews playing back in his home state. We drafted Avante Taylor or Alante or Avante. I don't know, from Tennessee.
I think I got him last year, didn't you?
Oh, we did, yeah, and he
Yeah.
actually played pretty good, yeah. Regardless, I think that we could probably win a playoff game, maybe 2 playoff games. No, a playoff game.
There's
my
zero
thing with
chance they
this
get the 1
take-
seed.
My take,
yeah,
there's not
that's
0%
pretty
chance.
hot.
My thing with this take, they didn't. Okay, first of all, they're in the worst division in football.
Yes.
They have the
Yes.
second easiest strength of schedule. They didn't win the
Yes.
division last year. They have a cupcake. I can pull up their
You
schedule.
remember?
if
You remember how the
want.
Cowboys were supposedly in the easiest division last year, and then the Eagles ended up being like the best team in the league.
I feel
And then
like
the
people
Giants ended
kinda
up playing
thought the
good.
Eagles and the Giants were going to be better, though. I wouldn't have
But
said
that's what
that
I'm
they were
saying,
the
like,
NFC
dude, like,
East was the
And
easiest.
some people are getting a little bit higher on the Falcons and on the
No, no,
Panthers.
But the
like,
Bucks,
but when
the
you-
Bucks are not going to be good.
Bucks are gonna suck dick. They're like the
the
Redskins.
Panthers,
okay,
I
or
mean, unless
Commanders,
Bryce
whatever.
Young comes in and lights up the world, the Panthers are going to suck.
The Bucks
and-
are gonna suck.
And
The Falcons have Desmond Ritter at quarterback.
And unless
Like,
unless the Falcons and Bijan
Okay.
is like the best running back.
Let's
it
go
won't
through
even
it real
matter.
quick. I have it, and again, my whole thing on this. I don't think it's a bold prediction for that's
Right.
what I clarify as bold.
Let's not.
Okay.
So you go through and just tell us who you think
Okay,
is going to
I'll
win,
tell-
and
I'll
then we'll
tell you what.
discuss
Okay.
afterwards.
Yeah.
This is the Saints schedule. Week 1, Tennessee Titans.
Okay,
I think it's a win.
1-0.
Week 2, Panthers.
2-0.
I think it's a win.
2-0.
Week 3, the Packers. I think that's a win too.
3-0.
Week 4, the Bucks.
4-0.
Week 5, the Patriots. That's a loss there.
5-1.
4-1.
4-1.
Week 6, the Texans. 5-1.
5.
Week 7, the Jags. 5-2. Week 8, the Colts.
6-2.
6
You
and
know what?
2.
They got the Colts and Bears. I'm gonna say they lose one of those.
So
against
6 and 3.
So 6-3. Week 10, the Vikings. We'll go 6-4.
6 and 4. Okay.
Week 7, the Falcons. 7-4. I think they're beating the Falcons. I really think they could sweep the division. I really believe that. Week 13, the Lions. We'll be generous. We'll give them a loss. 7-5. Week 8, the Panthers. 8-5. Giants. I think I took them losing the Bears. The Bears Vikings. I'm gonna pick them to win. That's 8-5.
It's at home too.
The Rams
9-5.
9-5. Bucks 10-5. And I think they're gonna win the division.
Falcons.
That wouldn't add up.
11-5.
That wouldn't even add up.
Oh, we missed one.
So okay, regardless, they win 12 games. They have a shot at the 1 seed. So
Yeah. I see us. I definitely
in a
think
weak
the-
NFC conference.
I have to admit they do have a crazy
Yeah.
weak schedule.
The-
Like,
the-
they
that's- and that's
have
the thing, they
because
have
they're
the
playing
second-
their division, and then in the AFC they're playing also the AFC South,
best-
right?
which is also the,
the
second
best
worst.
team-
the weakest
the,
division.
the best
weakest,
team,
yeah.
the
weakest
best team
divisions.
they play is like the Lions or the Patriots.
Yeah, they really. I didn't realize how easy their schedule was.
I think it was like a 42%
yeah,
win percentage for their schedule.
I'd say I still don't see them getting the 1, but I definitely see them making.
You don't have to see them
playoffs.
getting the 1, but to say there's no chance they get the 1. Last year, no one said the Eagles were going to get the 1 seed, but they went out and did it.
It's not out of the realm of possibility. I'm
not.
just not putting money
Especially when you look at like these top dog, like the Eagles. Have you seen the Eagles schedule?
No,
The Eagles.
I haven't looked at anyone's schedule.
The
It's
Eagles
tough.
have a fucking gauntlet
It's-
ahead of
I
them.
only looked at the schedule for the 4 teams
I
in
mean,
the
dude,
division.
like when we look at the Saints schedule. I mean, how many playoff teams are they facing?
Like 4.
The
from
Giants.
last
I
year,
mean, I don't
one.
even know if I count the Giants as like a playoff team.
Right.
You know, the Lions a playoff team.
Patriots.
The
playoff team.
Vikings,
Vikings
the-
were, but
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
the hardest teams they are playing are teams that are like wild card playoff.
No,
teams,
wait,
and there's, like,
literally,
4
what
games
is
against
their
them.
hardest game of the entire year?
It's probably the fucking Patriots
at
or
the
Lions.
Patriots.
Chiefs week 1.
That's preseason.
Oh, okay.
At Patriots is the toughest game.
They have the easiest.
They
fucking schedule.
easily have they have such an easy schedule, man. That is
Who
crazy.
got ranked as an easier schedule than them? Probably one of the NFC
How
South
can you?
or AFC
I don't
South
think you
I
can
don't know,
draw.
but
up
they're
an
the
easier
second easiest
yeah,
schedule.
Besides maybe the AFC
But yeah,
South.
that's my thing. It's like they're, and you know, and after the Kamara thing, Kamara is going to play this year. And with this prediction too, I'm banking on the fact that Pete Carmichael is going to flip this. Pete Carmichael is going to look at last year's tape and say, like that any homer could say that had Alvin Kamara on their fantasy team, like I didn't say, why the hell was I running Alvin Kamara
the
32
middle.
belly up the gut on first and second down and putting
30
Latavius Murray?
pro 32.
Like that
belly.
is not how you use Alvin Kamara, who has been one of the best receiving backs in the league since he has gotten here. You don't use him that way.
It was painful to watch.
All right, so that's my first one. My second one is that Stain. My second one is Shane Steichen wins Coach of the Year and Anthony Richardson wins Offensive Rookie of the Year. So with this take, I don't
hate
think
it.
Anthony Richardson is going to be a good long-term
You're relying
quarterback.
on the legs.
But his Anthony Richardson's comp, his good comp, obviously, has been Cam Newton. And wouldn't we see Cam thrives when he was young and athletic and injury-free and he was running the fuck out of the ball? And that's what Shane Steichen is going to ask of him. Shane Steichen with the Eagles last year, they ran an RPO offense. Jalen Hurts ran crazy. Anthony Richardson this year with the Colts is going to run crazy. They have one of the best running backs in the league in Jonathan Taylor. And on paper, their offensive line still one of the best in the league. Their offensive line didn't perform that good last year, but in this case, I see a bounce back from the Colts line. And same thing like the kind of NFC South. AFC South is pretty fucking bad as well.
Yep.
And if if the Colts can sneak into a wild card spot and Anthony Richardson gets some big time rushing numbers, if the Colts get in the playoffs alone, Shane Steichen is going to be right up there for Coach of the Year.
Definitely.
First year head coach, rookie quarterback, he's going to be right up there. And then Anthony Richardson tearing it up on the ground. I don't know how he's going to do passing the ball, but with him and Jonathan Taylor in this RPO offense, they could tear it up on the ground. You know, if we get Quentin Nelson motivated again, Braden Smith going, you know, Ryan Kelly, these guys who have been proven as capable linemen, turning it back around. I like that as a bold prediction as well.
Don't hate that. Yeah.
I don't hate it either. Yeah.
I think there's a shot for sure.
My bad. This is offensive rookie of the year for Richardson.
Yeah, because they have two separate.
Highlight.
There's
And
only
I-
one rookie of the year though for offensive defense, right? There's not.
Well, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they make it to the playoffs,
think
Anthony
he's-
Richardson's winning. He's
If they-
locked
if they
in.
make a
Steichen's
wild
gonna win
card,
Coach of
yeah.
the Year.
My dark pick for offensive rookie of the year is Jackson Smith and Jiba. I think he's gonna go crazy in the slot.
I
in
just don't think
Seattle.
there's enough production to go around for him to be
Tyler
offensive rookie of the year.
Lockett and DK are
We'll
gonna
see.
take
Yeah,
up a lot.
this is my dark horse. I just
Yeah.
Him, Quentin
hey,
Johnson.
it's like think
Well, 'cause
about
with-
Ohio
but-
State. There wasn't.
but-
They had two other receivers that were better, but
But
he's
no,
in the
Smith,
slot getting
but,
open.
But Smith Najiba was like the guy for Ohio Smith's passing attack.
for an entire year.
He was the guy. But
yeah, they had Marvin.
Yeah,
they
true.
had Chris Olave. They had Garrett Wilson. When he was there, they had all those players.
but we're saying with his prime, it was him and Marvin Harrison.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so he was the second there.
No,
he's
he
number
was
two.
ahead of Marvin Harrison for a year, and then Emeka Egbuka and
No,
Julian
because
Fleming
so
were behind.
the year that he was ahead of Marvin Harrison, Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson were there, and then this past season, Marvin Wilson came.
Well,
in.
even beyond that,
Oh,
I
you're
just
right.
don't.
Right.
You're right.
So he's
but
only
you're
the
right.
highest
For
he's been
college,
is a
right,
two.
You're right.
I just don't think there's enough passes to go around for him to put up numbers wise with DK and Lockett. there.
That's fair because
Well,
they're
and-
gonna run a lot
and
too.
they also
got
drafted Zach
Charbonnet.
Charbonnet,
Yeah, so-
and they have
Charbonnet.
Kenneth Walker
God,
as
hey,
well, to where
So
they're gonna want to run the ball. a
I
lot.
think
so.
yeah,
And
that makes
rookie-
fair sense.
and
But I think that
for
offense
rookie
is
of the
just gonna be
year,
so
for offensive
frickin'
rookie
electric.
of the
Yeah.
year, it's pretty much based on stats.
Yep.
So
Except when Dak beat Zeke. Ugh.
yeah. All right. Well, we have one more question. It's our fun question. I don't know if I've asked this before, and if I did, I don't think the podcast got recorded for it. But my question is, what is the least amount of money you would take? So, okay. The least amount of money you would take to get punched in the face by a prime Mike Tyson, bare knuckle, and you're also guaranteed that you will not die. But you're not guaranteed that you will not suffer any brain
Okay.
injuries.
Are my medical expenses already paid for?
Yes.
But
But you're not guaranteed if you go retarded
so like
after.
literally
it's
no.
not
So like
guaranteed.
literally,
But you're not gonna die.
everything
you know you're not
like
gonna die.
even whenever I have to take off work, I'm getting paid.
Yes, you're getting workers' comp.
Workers comp. Okay.
Yes, if you have to take off, you're getting workers' comp. If you have
And
hospital
so-
bills, your hospital bills are getting paid.
So is
for.
it like is he like standing like his feet are still and he's punching me, or is it like I'm literally like standing there, arms behind my back, and he gets to like run and set his feet and punch me?
No, it's his power punch. Like you're just standing there, and then he's probably like his fucking like left. Yeah.
yeah.
500 grand.
500. It's one punch. It's one punch.
At least $1 million. I may even go more.
but it's one punch.
No,
though.
you're getting that covered.
Medical bills are covered.
So my thing too, like, so if I had to get like 30 different plastic surgeries to get looking like myself again,
You're not. I don't think he's gonna bust you up like that off one.
no,
punch.
you're not gonna get like UFC brutalized.
I was
It's just
thinking
gonna literally
It's
be
one punch.
Is
it's
it okay?
one
Here,
punch.
you
I was
said
thinking-
bare
I mean,
knuckle?
Bare knuckle.
I'm either getting brain damage or I'm breaking my jaw.
So it's
and
not. It's not
nose.
as bad actually with bare knuckle.
It's worse.
I thought with the force of the glove versus.
Well,
bare
what
knuckle.
happened? The reason why they don't fuck with boxing gloves is because over time you're not seeing the damage on your face, so you continue to eat shots. Whereas like bare knuckle boxing, it's fucking very quickly apparent that you just got
So
fucking
yeah,
sucked.
your cheekbone's getting broken probably or whatever.
Yeah, your cheekbone is breaking, your jaw is breaking. If he hits you in the temple, you could be fucked. Yeah, and if
Take
he
the
hits
risk
you,
though of going retarded.
the thing is that professional boxers train their necks. How many dudes do you know around here who do neck exercise? I don't do. I
Well, it's
go to
like
the gym 4
well,
times a
we know
week.
what
I'm not
it's
gonna
like.
do a single fucking
Well,
neck exercise.
You right when he's about to punch you, you go limp and you relax. It's like getting a car wreck. Like we see people that survive car wrecks are people that go completely limp. If you try to tense up, you're gonna get hurt more.
Yeah,
You accept, okay, it's gonna happen, and you fucking take it.
you be real careful though, because I mean that.
I would honestly say
What's your
you.
number?
I think $100,000 I would do it. I think 100.
I like my
I
number.
think $100,000. I maybe have to go get some surgery on my face that's already paid for. I'm out of work for like a month or two. It's paid for. But then after all that, I'm back in an okay for $100,000. Yeah, $100,000. I'm in. Because I don't think he's gonna hit you hard enough to where like you literally like become like.
But at that point, Biggie,
retarded.
it's literally
I think
any
your
number you
your
pick,
like
it's
the
either
bones and
money or
shit are
death.
gonna get moved.
If his knuckle hit your eye though, you could lose an eye.
That's why I said $500,000, dude. I
That's-
can make a
that's a
life
good
off
point.
that.
I mean, if he breaks your orbital bone right here, dude, like that's
Yeah,
that's
a good
fucking
point.
long term. You may not have an eye afterwards. Turn you into a fucking Voldemort if he hit you in the nose, dude. Like, I mean, there's some serious repercussions. I say a mil just because it's like, I don't give a shit. I would rather here's the thing.
What about when you're not a kid anymore, though? Like, you're just Make-A-Wish.
Make a Make a wish, man.
I would rather fight. I would rather fight certain UFC fighters and try and make it around than take one fucking punch. from
Yeah,
Mike Tyson.
I agree.
There's
Okay,
UFC
okay.
fighters who I'd
Well-
rather fight
well,
for a fucking round
okay.
and let them inflict damage on me until I'm unconscious on the fucking ground.
Yeah.
Okay,
get hit
well,
by
to
my-
parlay that, what's the least amount of money you would take to get in the ring, UFC Octagon style with
The
Francis Ngannou?
Oh, get in the ring like him boxing?
Yeah, like UFC. UFC.
Oh, in the UFC.
He could kick you in the head, punch you in the head,
uh,
whatever. But it's like, yeah, once he hits you like one good hit and you're obviously knocked out. Yeah, no, it's the same stipend to where like, yeah, your bills are paid
250K.
for, your work comes paid for.
$250K.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
He kicks me in the leg. First of all, it would snap my fucking leg.
No,
and then I would be down. I would be down a
No,
leg.
no,
I'd be
he-
little
no,
crippled.
he's
for the
looking
rest
at
of
you
my
as like
life.
a.
She's like,
he-
bro, hit me in the
he's looking
face.
at you like it's a
If he
championship
hit me in
fight. He's
the
like,
face,
I want
that's
to kill
the
this
same odds as
motherfucker.
Tyson, but like.
So he's gonna walk in and probably throw like one like of his like deadly left hook, and then you're done. So it's probably just a left hook. But
Right.
But he also has the gloves on with that situation.
That yeah, and those gloves aren't like boxing. You're still gonna feel it a lot more than you
Yeah.
will in a boxing glove. Hey, I would knock 500,000 off my number for the Tyson argument if he had a glove on. But if it was bare knuckle,
Yeah,
the amount
bare
of
knuckle.
damage that he could do is just fucking catastrophic, dude.
Well, like Big E said,
the
what
one side of your face wouldn't look the same ever again.
I mean,
No.
Yeah,
like Big E said though, you may be able to be like you might be able to throw out the first pitch like the All-Star game or something.
Yeah, and your
You'd
tongue
probably
would
you'd
hang out
probably
your mouth for
they
the
would.
rest
You
of
know how
your
many
life.
like promo events they'd let you do if
Bro.
like you were the guy that got knocked out and became retarded for that. Like they'd be like, "Oh, this kid's throwing out the first pitch at the All-Star
Bro,
game."
that would burn off so fast, though. Like,
this,
Yeah,
this
How-
kid,
those
this
30
kid
seconds
throwing
of
the
fame
first
would
pitch
not
in
be
the World
fucking
Series.
bro, this guy got knocked the hell out by Mike
It's
Tyson.
the
You know-
dude who got
Yeah,
dropped.
you know-
by
that's the
fucking
dude that got
Tyson.
dropped
Yeah.
by Mike.
You know-
and people are like,
dude,
bro, that was 3 years ago.
You
Yeah.
you
Who
would
cares?
you would
And
you
you're
go.
sitting
I
there
think you would get to
smiling,
go on
just
Joe
like,
Rogan's
the whole
podcast.
fucking
Yeah,
time.
I think you
You don't know what's
I
going
think-
on. Your
dude,
tongue's out your mouth.
you
like
would
I said.
become
You're like-
you would become a social media celebrity overnight from that. You'd get verified. You'd get 1 million followers. Think about the money you could make off all the followers you'd get from being the guy that got punched.
You would be that
the
guy
amount
that
of podcasts you would go on, that you'd get the revenue
Cole,
share.
you would
of
be
all
that
those
guy
podcasts.
that shows up on people's random Instagram feed, and you're like, Why is there special needs people pulling up on my Instagram?
You would look like Officer Doofy from fucking Scary Movie for the rest of your
Yeah.
life. Just Officer Doofy.
I don't know, man. It
reporting
depends
for
if you want
duty.
that bag. You want that bag
Hello,
or not.
TikTok. Yeah, hello, TikTok. You probably remember me from getting punched in the face by Mike Tyson.
By Mikey. We're close now.
Yeah.
Yeah, 10 years down the line, it might be kind of bad. But, all right, boys.
It's been
Let's
nice.
put a bow on it.
Yep.
It's been a good one. First NFL pod of the new season in the books. Thank you all for coming. But yeah, so that's PTA 26. Again, you can catch us on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Patreon. It's out there too. But yeah, we'll be back next week with some more NFL.
Catch us on Patreon.
I think we're gonna go into the NFC South next week. So, but yeah, thank
Like,
you guys.
share, subscribe.
Big E, thanks for coming
Steve.
again.